Howdy.
Welcome.
Howdy.
Hey, how's it going? Oh
Doing
God, I gotta
great.
mute the stream.
Could you give me a link to the server? Or wait, can I? Hold on. Invite people.
Let's
Here we
see.
go. And I'll post it in my chat so they can flood the place.
Awesome. That'll be very wonderful. And
There you
then
go. That's
for
Discord
everybody
chat.
in the
It's YouTube. There you go.
sweet. So I just want to say to everyone in the chat, then you can put your questions in the questions channel. We've got some people, we'll look at them. We'll make sure they're decent questions. Nothing, low par, low hanging fruit, nothing stupid. Make sure they're solid questions for Vaush, and then I'll ask them for you.
Alrighty.
And yeah.
I'm
Alright.
booting it up. I'm booting my game up.
Alrighty. I'll let you get into Fall Guys, and I'll ask you the first one.
No. Get started. I take forever.
Get it started now. Let's get going.
Yeah, get it.
All right. First up, we got one from Teletubby Sniper. Do you think the growing conflict / Red Scare between the U.S. and China will get as severe / more severe than the conflict / Red Scare between the USA and USSR? Why? Why not?
No, I don't think so, because the main difference between the USSR and the China, and I'm about to get a giant burst of noise as the game starts up before I lower the sound, so I'll navigate that shortly. But the main difference is that the USSR was not part of the United States of America's trade bloc, whereas now China is. Meaning that no matter how much posturing our government engages in, we have a very strong economic incentive to avoid any real conflict with China. With the USSR, of course, we were, through nuclear means, disincentivized from direct engagement, but there were other ways we could fuck with each other. I just don't think it's going to turn out the same way for this one.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Got one from the same person, Teletubby Sniper. Do you believe that many far leftists knowingly / unknowingly repeat neoliberal lies and fallacies about social democratic policies to own the sock Dems? Many far less leftists I have talked to have said that the only reason Scandinavian countries have good healthcare system is because of their lower population. And many repeat neoliberal strawmans of Keynesian economics. That is just printing money and breaking windows.
Oh yeah, that's pretty dumb. I may have engaged in that pattern of behavior at some point in the past. I think that there's a very strong instinctual effort on the part of lefties to attack Soakdems because the social democracy is very easy to answer for, and very easy to defend if you're not fucking crazy. And the real trick is convincing somebody, okay, but it's not just about the free healthcare. It's not just about this or that. It's also about, abolishing the barriers that separate the bourgeois from the proletariat. It's about freeing us from our enemy. And those are harder arguments to make. They're more conceptual. So a lot of lefties will go overboard and they'll attack Soakdems on things that Soakdems share with socialists. Like, for example, that healthcare argument. If you're arguing social democracy only works because of a country's population, that argument would also apply to socialism.
Mm-hmm. Then we got another one here. This one's from a Daisy. Vaush, what are non-Bernie or bust or tanky communities that leftists could hang out in? I'd like to hang out in leftist communities, but I won't permit Bernie or bust shit on my timeline.
Have you heard of this sick YouTuber called Vaush? I've heard he's got some pretty pog takes on being a pragmatic socialist. No, in all seriousness, though, there aren't that many. The online left has been gripped by the specter of nihilism, of doomer mentality, and I think largely of impracticality. It really sucks. The best communities online right now that are left-leaning are honestly more Soakdem communities because they're still engaged and passionate and they have stakes in the race. And I think our goal should be to be a part of those communities and then to move them farther left rather than to just sit in like empty lefty, echo chambers and circle jerk about how both parties are the same.
Yeah. All right, I think for this one, we actually had a user who was going to ask the question for themselves. So I'm just going to unmute them. Krupnik, are you there?
Oh, yes, I am there. Sorry, I haven't... Damn, okay. I thought you were gonna read it, but okay, I already have it. I'm sorry.
No, you
So, hello, Vaush. I really like many of your takes, but I don't agree with the one about not caring about the culture at all, and not caring about Native American nationalists, in quotation marks, if we can call them that way, being mad about having their culture erased. I think your take comes from the position of privilege of being part of the dominant culture, and there are many communities that don't want to assimilate with their historic enemies. Also, what do you think would be a good way to resolve those tensions? And do you have, in my opinion, good takes on how to solve inequality of Black Americans? Which makes me understand even less your kind of ignorant position on American Indians.
Yeah, so I think I should clarify my position a little bit in this regard. I have at no point said that Native Americans should not resist the destruction of their culture. What I argued against was the idea that a culture should be preserved in its traditional state into perpetuity. There's a big difference between defending your culture against change and defending your culture against attack. Change is inevitable, and all cultures will eventually come to bear the weight of technological and social advancements over the past, well, since industrialization. But that doesn't mean these cultures should be... Fuck! That these cultures should be destroyed, attacked, or otherwise deconstructed by dominant cultures. When it comes to me saying I don't care about culture, what I'm mostly saying there is that I don't really like the fact that there are a lot of people who will justify illiberal ideas because they will believe it will preserve their culture. It's just not a really good pattern of behavior, in my opinion.
All right.
Does that make sense? Oh, yes. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes, it does make a lot of sense. Although the next question is also from me, but I am afraid, I don't know, I am afraid that not everyone can understand me because of my accent, so maybe Waffle, can you read this for me?
Nah, you're perfectly understandable, but if you want them to read it for you anyway...
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So I will go on. Wow, it's pretty long. I am glad I have written it all yesterday, because it's 2 a.m. now.
Go.
Okay. So that's kind of a follow-up question. What do you think about left-wing nationalism? Like, I don't know if you know what is that. I have linked a Wikipedia article. But okay.
I think that nationalism... Oh, sorry. Please, finish your question.
Oh, no, that was the whole question. I just had like a little follow-up that Marx have supported the independence of Ireland and Poland, and Lenin was talking about self-determination of nations.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with...
If you are familiar, then go on.
With nationalism being used as lightning rod for revolutionary sentiment. Whether I think it's cringe or not, and I do, there's no denying people care a lot about the cultures and the countries they were born into. And if that gets people excited to emancipate themselves from imperialist or colonialist agents, then I think that's fine. My main issue is when it's not necessary, but people will defend it anyway. I know there are plenty of people online who will defend just plain old regular nationalism. Not national socialism, well, not Nazism, sorry. Not any kind of emancipatory nationalist effort, just plain old nationalism, using the defense of left-leaning nationalism. And that is an issue for me. And I think a lot of people, honestly, just coddle the nation state. It's a comfortable, baby blanket for them.
Oh, okay, I get it. So, I have also a question. Your first nick was an Irish laddie, even though you have also said that you are half Polish, and I wanted to ask, why have you rejected this Polish part? And don't escape the Polish question. happen.
It's not that I rejected the Polish part. It's that when I was a kid, I was only told. When I was a kid, at some point, I vaguely remember my family telling me that I was like of Irish descent or something. I think my father has like his grandfather's shillelagh hanging over his office or something like that, like his traditional shillelagh. So I was like, oh, cool, dude. Beer bastard potatoes. Oh, oi, top of the morning to you. Because I was fucking 8 years old and I had no sense identity or shame. And I made an email account named Irish Laddie because I was required to by my college class computer class back in 2nd grade. And I thought it was cringe like 2 years after I made it, but by that point I had made everything named Irish Laddie like on all my online profiles, so it was too late, you know.
Oh, okay, I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we as Poles were more boring, okay?
No,
And,
you know, it's what got to me first. You know how it is.
Yeah. So the last question is like a game: fuck, marry, kill. Klobuchar, Buttigieg, and Bloomberg.
Okay, Klobuchar, Bloomberg, and who was the second one?
Buttigieg.
Ah.
Buttigieg.
I feel like Klobuchar would give really good hand jobs, so I'm going to give a fuck to Klobuchar. Buttigieg, I guess I would have to marry, because Buttigieg is quite the go-getter, and I respect that. And Bloomberg, that's an easy third for me. That's a quick kill.
That's a Minecraft diamond sword to the head.
In Minecraft.
In Minecraft, hypothetically.
In Minecraft.
Alrighty. Thank you, Krupnik. We'll move on to the next one, who will be from Spam. In case there's a violent revolution, isn't it reasonable to fear that the wealth that is supposed to be redistributed gets destroyed? And that then, temporarily, the conditions are worse than before?
Oh, temporarily, for sure, yeah. I don't think there's ever been a revolution in all of human history that immediately led to an improvement in the conditions of the average person. It's almost impossible. Though, mind you, a modern-day revolution probably wouldn't take the form you would, you know, wouldn't... Oh, shit, we won that round. It wouldn't take the form, of the old guard revolutions, you know? It's not like a modern revolution would be people with muskets, like, storming every city and, you know, buildings being burned and taken block by block. It would be probably a highly technological, highly upper-end affair, where, you know, most people would just be participating, through their couches in their living rooms, watching it happen on TV. The idea that, like, everyone's going to go out to the street and destroy everything, I just don't think it's going to happen. But it is undeniable, though, that yes, revolutions are dirty, nasty business, and I don't think anyone should ever glorify them. We do enjoy an unprecedented level of general comfort in this country. Even our poor are better off significantly than they would be a century ago, in most ways. And that does not mean capitalism is doing all it can, or in fact that it's doing well. It just means we have to be aware of certain conditions before we attempt to mobilize the population towards revolution.
Alrighty. Let's do the next one here. Getting a lot of new ones. This is great. Alright. This one's from Aurora, also known as ISIS on the server. We got a question about your art. Clip Studio Paint or Krita. What inspires your doodles and artistic style in general? What do you use to draw when drawing digitally? A Cintiq? C-I-N-T-I-Q.
Cintiq is what you're...
Okay. Yeah. What programs and what are your favorite things to use when drawing traditionally?
I don't really draw digitally. There was a brief period of time where I could do it, and then I just stopped doing it. I like Clip Studio Paint very, very much. I usually use it to color in the traditional drawings that I do. That's typically how I integrate digital art into what I do. But in terms of, like, what inspires my art, I don't get time to draw much anymore, because the YouTube shit takes up so much time, which is unfortunate, because I do quite like drawing, and I've only ever gotten better with time. What inspires it? Well, there are comic ideas that I've always wanted to draw, and I think about them a lot. Usually when I draw something, I think of something thematically or aesthetically in line. with an element of those comics or those ideas, and I'm like, hey, I wonder if I could draw that. Am I capable? And I give it a shot. And more often than not, I'm not. But sometimes I like the drawings that I do.
All right. Let's see here. Next one. Gonna be from...
Oh, Dungeons and Dragons, too. I've had an ongoing campaign for like 2.5 years with my friends. And a lot of stuff happens in there that I'm like, shit, okay, I'll draw it, you know?
I can't draw, like, at all, and I still feel compelled to draw stuff that happens in my Dungeons & Dragons campaign.
Yeah, it's fun!
You gotta do it. I love to draw the magic items the most, that's me. This one's from ESO. Do you have any justifications for why your axiomatic beliefs are more important than somebody else's beyond your own personal preferences and emotions?
Nope. I'm not a moral realist. I don't believe it's possible to justify the preference that I have for my axioms over others for others. Now, what I do believe is that most people, if for no other reason than because we're hardwired to biologically, do have certain axiomatic preferences that they will often deceive themselves into believing they do not have. I think, generally speaking, human beings want to maximize well-being for the people they care about. I think that most human beings have people they care about, and they'll usually form political or philosophical rationalizations to defend those, whatever it would take to defend those people, including themselves. I think I can appeal to that. So there are a lot of people who will be like, my axioms are to cause as much suffering as possible. But I don't believe that. I don't believe they believe that either. I think that they're acting inconsistently. I can usually appeal to a higher order of logic there.
All right, and there was... So that kind of answered the follow-up they had, but I'm just going to read it for oh, it's been edited. All right. They edited their own question.
Oh, nice.
So Teletubby Sniper had another question as well, and I'm going to unmute them because they wanted to do that. I just got to scroll through this massive amount of people to find them. Where are you? There you are. Teletubby Sniper, you're up.
Thank you, Waffle. My question is, what is the favourite debate that you've ever done? And I think I've got another question coming up after that, but there's a question in between, so I'll just ask that for now.
Sure. Man, let me think. Favorite debate I've ever done. In terms of, like, happiness with my performance, I think the second Sargon debate would probably be it. The second Sargon debate, I think, was a pretty phenomenal display, not only of my general rhetorical abilities, but also of my meta-knowledge of my opponent, which is very, very important. Sometimes way more important than actually being good at debate, or being right, for that matter.
Yeah.
When it comes to, like, debate isn't the most interesting for me, it definitely would not be someone like Sargon. Let me think. In terms of most interesting for me... Honestly, it's a little weird. I think it might be the debate that I just had with Destiny. I think I learned a lot from that, for better or for worse. And I think that if you compare my performance in that debate compared to my performance in the earliest debates that I had with Destiny, there's a very big difference in my performance that indicates some degree of personal growth. Not necessarily in the actual subject being debated, but just in the proficiency with which it's being debated. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. So, we have one in between Teletubby's next question, which is from Big Peen. Can you explain to me what capitalism, socialism, and communism are?
Sure. So capitalism, or in proper terms, laissez-faire capitalism, is generally the global system of economic production we have today, and it's built on the idea of the ideas of private property, free expression, and individualism. Essentially, back in the mercantile days, like the medieval period, you know, you could form businesses, but usually these businesses had to be formed with the permission of the aristocracy or with essentially people in charge. And these businesses would usually operate alongside the government entities that you had to seek permission from. Mercantilism, or mercantile capitalism, was all about uniting the then burgeoning free trade with the interests of the kingdom. Laissez-faire capitalism is like, holy shit, no, fuck it, you can make a business no matter what. You, like, anyone can make a business. And this was in line with Enlightenment thinking. They thought it would make people more free, and it did, but not free enough. And socialism takes that idea, and they're like, hey, listen, you know, what if the big problem here wasn't the distinction between the aristocracy and the people looking to seek capital from the aristocracy? What if the big distinction here was just between people who own businesses and people who have to work at those fucking businesses? What if we amended this massive social distinction by eliminating private ownership of capital, so people collectively own the means of production, or the businesses, the factories, and B, what if we got rid of the idea of making shit just to sell it? What if we made things in response to social need rather than in response to market forces? And that's socialism. Communism is essentially higher-end socialism. The idea is that eventually, in an egalitarian society of the description I just provided, eventually the state would wither away because it would no longer be necessary to enforce property relations. And then you would have a stateless, classless, moneyless society, which is the definition of communism. Little wordy, but that's basically the history we're at right now.
I get the feeling that this person had the view where it's like the socialism is when the government does things, and the more stuff it does, the more socialismer it is. I feel like that was kind of his base level knowledge with that question.
Well, hey, I mean, you know, some things the government probably should be doing so long as we have a government. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that necessarily, but no. There's actually no relationship whatsoever between socialism and government ownership, unlike what some people would insist.
I agree. But right. We had one again from Teletubby Sniper. I'm gonna unmute them to see if they wanted to do this one as well.
Yeah, just let me find the question. So yeah, Vaush, do you think that it is possible that with the rise of automation that replaces high-end mental labour and white-collar work, a new economic system could become the norm after this late stage of capitalism? Or do you think the mass unemployment will create the conditions necessary for a communist socialist uprising? Just to flesh that out a bit more, I just think a proletariat revolution is unlikely if automation makes the number of people within the proletariat a lot smaller.
The funny thing is, Marx was writing on automation 150 years ago. You know, and a lot of his writings were kind of quaint. When Marx wrote about automation, he talked about how the emancipation of humanity from menial labor would allow workers more time to think and to contemplate their class position against the bourgeois. And now we know today, of course, that now that we have a service economy, that automation has, while certainly making our economy more efficient, has done very little to emancipate the worker. I don't know. I'm a big advocate for respecting the advancement of material conditions, in the sense that I think a lot of socialists are very eager to attach a sense of inevitability to a very certain mode of historical progression. I consider this essentialist belief to be kind of counterproductive. I think it leads people to make bad assumptions and make bad interpretations from things that are happening. I don't know what might arise from that, but I would encourage socialists to be very aware of the possibility that things kind of go awry, you know? That it doesn't quite go to plan, and we might legitimately find ourselves in a position where... No! Fuck. Our old ideas of socialism become legitimately obsolete in the face of, you know, advancing automation and post-scarcity.
All right.
Thanks for that answer, Vaush.
Oh yeah, of course.
Next. Awesome. So our next one is from one Roritan, who I don't believe is here right now, and I don't think you'd want to say it personally anyway. I know him. Do you think that an armed society is a polite society?
Ha! No. The overabundance of guns in a country just absolutely does not lower gun crime or gun deaths at all. When I argue for guns, it's definitely not because it makes people's lives better in the short term. It is because I think it's I don't like the idea of the citizenry not having a way to resist like upper end tyranny. Now, I've been presented recently with some very interesting challenges to my pro-gun beliefs. They have not been enough to sway me from my position entirely, but I'm looking more into it, and I may revise my... Excuse me. I may revise my opinions on this in the future. But no, the idea, the common, like, right-wing talking point, like, the only thing to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. Guns keep you safe. Keep gun to your house, stop a burglar, arms side, polite side. That's all bullshit. It's all, like, factually wrong. It's empirically incorrect.
All right. Just gotta get the next one here. Where is it? All right, this is from Crow. So I'm gonna unmute you, Crow, because I know you want to speak for yourself on this one. We'll do your first four and swing back to the other questions once we get through some of the new people.
Yeah, once we get through Crackjacks? Alright.
Once we get through the books of questions we have.
Yeah, that's fine. So my first question, I put, name your least disliked right-wing figure / intellectual, and I made sure to put in parentheses, you know, don't cop out. Don't say, oh, there's no right-wing intellectuals, like, haha, funny joke. Like, who's your least disliked one, out of all of them?
Least disliked. Stephen Bunnell. No. Let me think, actually. There are some who I'm less negative. No, Hunter Avallone doesn't work, because Hunter Avallone left the right. Let me think. Fuck me. Wait, I know I have a better answer for this. No, it's not Jordan Peterson. Yeah, Ben Shapiro is the funniest. There's no denying that. Can you give me a second? I'll continue to think out loud for the sake of entertainment, but I'm actually... Guys, it's not one of the big ones. Everyone in chat's trying to jog my memory. Ooh, Jesse Lee Peterson. Stumped. Jesse Lee Peterson's a strong contender. Beta! Yeah, he is a strong contender. Oh, let me think. Is it him? Is it... you know what? I'm gonna lock that in as my answer for now. Yeah. Jesse Lee Peterson is fucking hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's an amazing answer. Second question. Vaush, since you want a society without unjustified hierarchies as an anarchist, how would you deal with any right-wingers, mutualists, basically anything outside your orthodoxy in a society without a monopoly of force, like a state? How would you deal with them? What would you do?
I've been moving away from defending anarchist positions lately because it keeps getting me caught in a sort of intellectual trap that I'm not fond of, which is where I'm defending the principles of a society that could only exist on a different set of material conditions than the one we currently live in. A lot of my answers are going to be predicated on something that sounds almost fantastical, because society would need to be different. The world would need to be different. But ideally, the system would just be a one of social disincentivization. That's right now essentially the system we have for a lot of undesirable behaviors. When we think of manners, for example, this is a system that we have almost for just so causes. We have manners because it's rude to not have manners, because it's rude to not have manners. But because we do that, we see that we're capable of managing people's behavior to an extraordinary degree of fidelity without it actually having anything to do with the law or with punishment. And I wonder if such a thing could be done with most of the reactionary or conservative tendencies that would be antithetical to the functioning of an anarchist society, you know? Just people dislike it so much that people just don't do it. Or if they do it, they get shunned from enough social gatherings that nobody really cares what they have to say.
Oh, alright. That's interesting. I guess like it's like too far away hypothetically to like I guess envision immediately. But my third question.
The easier answer would be like in a socialist country, I would strongly argue against any kind of like, you know, re-education. I think that's a horrifying prospect, and I'm disgusted when I see leftists use the term re-education unironically. And I would yeah, probably lean towards social disincentivization and only incarceration if real laws are broken. I don't like that. that like we need to get the fascies off their hijinks shit. It's very, very dangerous precedent.
Yeah, gotta put them on the brainwash pills.
Yes, that's not good.
The third question I had before we take a break for someone else, let them hog the mic. If I remember correctly, you described yourself as an anarcho-syndicalist at one point.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to ask you your specific thoughts on three sort of syndicalist intellectuals, that being George Sorel.
You are not going to get good answers from these ones. But go for it.
I already know. Noam Chomsky and De Leon. You know, from like De Leonism,
yes.
like guild socialism.
I do
awesome.
like Chomsky.
What's your thoughts?
I'm only familiar with the writings of Chomsky, and even then, mostly on his linguistics and his more general political takes, not so much in his hard political theory. I am just I have grown less and less interested with anarchism as a concept, while we're dealing with the ever-present rise of fascism now. Like every moment that I spend thinking about, like, oh, in 200 years after we have abolished this and that, and we have a global anarchist society, we could do this, is a moment that I could be spending thinking about stuff we need to do today. But I guess maybe my intellectual curiosity will eventually lead me to complete my gap in knowledge.
All right. You mind if I give you like one last recommendation?
Sure.
If I had to like suggest one of these authors to read, I heavily recommend George Sorel and Reflection on Violence. I think it would be an amazing book on praxis for you.
Yeah, I
that's
think
that's it.
And it's important to read these people as well, because you don't just derive value from these books, these writings, if you agree with everything these people believe. For example, I've been reading Mao lately, and I really don't like Mao at all. His legacy, a lot of the arguments he makes, but in his writings, I've still found a lot of really compelling arguments that help me understand not just the conditions of his time, but also the conditions of our time. So I think that if I'm willing to think that of Mao, then I certainly could of an anarcho-syndicalist. Mao is a terrible writer. He's a very aggressive writer, I've noticed. He's very very judgy, very judgmental with his writings. It's very, you are a traitor to the revolution if you don't blank, you know? No wonder that guy was able to take over China. Yeah, okay, that's...
All right. Thank you, Crow. Let's see.
No problem.
Next ones we got are from Crackjack, Flood. What's I think this one is what's your real communism?
What the fuck does that mean?
I'm not exactly sure. I'm not exactly sure what he meant
The
by
fuck
that
does
one.
that mean?
I think it's like, it's kind of like what's I imagine it's kind of like what's your feminism, you know?
Oh, I don't know what the fuck that means either. Like, what's what's my communism? I think we have a lot of really good, compelling ideas right now on what we can do to make society better, and unfortunately, a lot of those just rely on being in a different world, and we can move in that direction. But when we actually get there, is that gonna be what ends up being the best direction forward? I don't want to feel locked into like a given ideological framework. So I try not to be. I'm committed to socialism pretty easily, though. That's a very easy next step for me. But what is my communism? I don't know. I think we'll have to see. I'm sorry if that's a cop-out answer, but...
I don't know what you're copping out of exactly, so I wouldn't say it is, you know? It's from the same person, Crackjack. What do you think of libertarians and anarchists using authoritarian means such as weapons to achieve their goals? Is this a contradiction?
I don't think weapons are authoritarian. When I think of authoritarianism, I think of the consolidation of power into a single person entity or to a group, you know, that sort of thing. The use of weaponry doesn't consolidate power. What it does is it allows the smallest minority, the individual, to express their power, or more broadly, for communities to express their power. The ownership of firearms has historically been associated with anti-authoritarianism, not with authoritarianism. Or at least that tends to be the rhetoric used. Of course, Nazi Germany encouraged firearm use amongst its population. That was pretty authoritarian. But there were other social conditions that they set forth to ensure those firearms were not turned against them. they were also at war with everyone, so it helps that people know how to use a gun.
Right.
Oh yeah, only for the white people, I should say. They weren't giving Jews guns.
Yes.
For all the good it would have done.
Yeah, specifically taking away guns from them, if I'm not mistaken, as well.
Yeah, pretty cringe.
Yeah, for sure. Got one last one from Crackjack, for right now. Do you like political parties, or would you prefer no political parties? This does not mean a single party state. He wants to clarify that.
In the United States of America, or just broadly? I think in the United States of America, political parties are a fucking cancer. There's nothing we can do about it now. I think even George Washington wasn't a fan of them. But there's like nothing we can do now. But political parties are absolute dog shit. They encourage partisanship of the worst kind, and it disincentivizes people from understanding the positions of the people they vote for. It's just really, 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 really bad. So hopefully we could abolish those. Maybe there's an argument for political parties in a parliamentary system where people can form coalitions. I could see an argument for that. But even then, you can form blocks or voter blocks without necessarily needing parties, you know, like this could be like the left block or the right block, that sort of thing.
So kind of like, we're like in a parliamentary system, you'd have blocks of people who kind of coalesce together.
Yeah, well, because even if you don't have political parties, say you have 200 people in districts who are elected to the parliament, you could then, they could then willfully say, well, I'm now a part of this block, I'm now a part of that block. That was horseshit, what just happened in this game. And you wouldn't need the political party, but you would still get the benefit of a parliamentary system.
All right, I think our next one up will be El Superperson. Vaush, do you still think Medicare for All is generally unpopular? You cited how its support is going down when people are asked more specific questions like, do you support the idea of a national socialized healthcare system if it disallowed private insurance, as being evidence that Medicare for All is actually popular in quotation marks?
No, I was wrong. I was led to believe that because of some impressions that I had been given prior, but when I was presented the data, no, I was factually wrong. Support for Medicare for All is pretty damn high, and the language used in those polls is pretty. Some of the language used is literally just abolish private insurance, and those polls still show a high degree of favorability for Medicare for All. When language that severe is used and you still get numbers that high, that's a pretty strong indication that I was wrong. Yeah.
I think he had just kind of a second half on that question. I'm just going to see where that got put to. Which was, ask more question like, do you support the idea of...
Of course, I should say, by the way, this is amongst Democrats. Okay. When you take a look at the general population, a public option is way, way more electable. But I still think this is an instance where the Democrats would... If we close our eyes and imagine for a moment that the Democrats give a fuck about the people who vote Democrat, if we can enter that fantasy land for a moment, I think it would be a better strategy on the part of the Democrats to start with a Medicare for All bid and then negotiate from there, rather than opening by acquiescing to the most immediately electable option. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. All right. And I'm sorry, El Superperson, I did not see you in the chat. I'm sorry you do not get to read your question. I do apologize. My frog profile pictured friend. Let's see. Next person we have is Teletubby Sniper. With one more question here, which will be his one about YouTube. Let me see. Where's Teletubby Sniper so I can unmute you for your question there. Teletubby, you there?
Yeah, I'm there.
All right, you have the one about the YouTube there?
Yeah. So my question is, Vaush, do you think the right is losing its place as the dominant political sphere on YouTube as more and more young men, the most prominent demographic on YouTube, grow out of their anti-SJW phase and start watching more left-leaning creators like you who are able to present leftist ideas and arguments in a way that is palatable to them? Or do you think we still have a long way to go to get the great numbers of dominant right-wing channels like Stephen Crowder and Ben Shapiro?
I think that those channels, Steven Crowder, Ben Shapiro, aren't as influential as we're often led to believe. A good example for this is Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk, of course, runs TPUSA. The person who founded TPUSA is dead thanks to COVID-19. Rest in peace. But TPUSA is supposed to be a college campus organization. What it really is an astroturfed effort to influence student elections. But their fan base, the people who actually like TPUSA, are all fucking boomers. Pretty much every demographic assessment I've seen of this has indicated that, yeah, young people don't give a fuck about TPUSA. It's all boomers. And I think that for a large amount of Steven Crowder and Ben Shapiro's support also comes from these directions. When it comes to winning over the minds of the younger people, I'm not so concerned with these sort of more establishment-leaning people. I'm concerned with the neo-Nazis. I feel like pretty much every 14-year-old in America right now is either like an ANCOM or a neo-Nazi, and there's very little room in between, you know? When you're seeing the fucking K-Hive stands on Twitter, these people are all in their 20s and 30s. These aren't young people. Same with the I'm with her types. It's become very polarized. And are we winning those people? I genuinely don't know. I really don't know. But the demographics are in our favor. When we're talking about America, as time goes on, the internet sees a greater proportion of non-white and non-male groups entering the political space in our country online. And that's good for us because it is, of course, primarily white men who are the, purveyors of conservative of rhetoric online. Time is working in our favor. I don't know if we're winning right now, but I'm confident that eventually the demographics will pan out in our favor. Especially because, by the way, the Democratic Party is like 5 million people stronger than the Republican Party. There are just a lot of institutional barriers that prevent that from mattering as much as it should.
All right.
Thanks for that answer, Vaush. I think I've got a question after that. Let me just find it. Oh, here it is. So sort of going off that, as you want to sort of shift YouTube more to the left, what are some of your long-term goals for you and your channel?
For me? I want to be the largest YouTuber on Earth, preferably. There's really no limit. What I would like to be, eventually, is a dominant force in this sort of gap between the liberal Democrats and the proper left. I want to fill that space the way people like Kyle Kulinski and Sam Seder have, but I want to do it better than they ever could. Because neither of those two people are socialists, so there's limits to their advocacy. That's one. And two, neither of them have the understanding of internet culture that I think that I do. I'm younger than both of them. I think that counts for a lot in some respects. Though I do have respect for both of them. Well, I'd like to be that bridge. I would like to be enormously influential. I would like for people like Ben Shapiro and Sam Seder to run terrified from debate invitations. And I think that I can do these things. I just need time and I need a lot of outreach. My goal for getting people to know who I am. Did I say Sam Seder instead of Sam Harris? Did I do it again?
Yeah.
No,
Yep.
Okay, listen, okay, and don't worry about it. I'll never get the Sam correctly. Ever. My main goal moving forward is to bring liberals over. Because right now, unfortunately, everyone on the left fucking hates me, except for, ContraPoints, or people who are too small for their input to be super relevant in a broad scale. No offense to them. I still love them. ContraPoints is huge, of course, but, man, the Chapo boys don't like me. Kyle Kulinski, I'm pretty sure, doesn't like me, though he wouldn't beef with me on his channel. Pretty much every major lefty podcast doesn't like me. It's just completely ubiquitous. The Vaush derangement syndrome has just afflicted the entirety of the online left. But the liberals, there are far more of them, and VDS has not spread that far. So I think I'll reach out there. You know?
Yeah, Vaush hate is all over my TikTok For You page. It's insane. So much of it's so irrational. Thanks for that answer.
No problem. I have a very, very passionate anti-fan base.
Kind of the most fun kind to have. As someone from New England, I'm used to it from the rest of the country.
Does New England have a antagonistic relationship with
I would say at least Massachusetts does.
Ah, okay. Listen, I'm from California. All I know is that everyone on the West Coast fucking hates people from Los Angeles.
I get that. I have friends on the West Coast, yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Then we had one from... Oh, where'd he go? Oh, there he is. Vanilla the Killer is gonna have a question he wanted to ask, and we're gonna have him go. You're unmuted, buddy.
Oh, hey, how you doing, Vaush?
Doing well.
All right, so here it is. So, in today's day and age of unrest and polarization, what would you say to young people like me who are starting to lose hope in the future of politics in this country in general? Like, do you think that there's still hope for a future if we continue down the path that we're going right now with all the polarization and just lack of civility?
Yeah, of course. Keep in mind that most people die believing they're witnessing the end times. This is generally the case for most human beings. If you think, go back like throughout all of history, from the fall of the Mesopotamians, the Roman Empire, the ancient Greeks, the Saracenians, you know, the people who were being invaded by the Mongols, the 18 Chinese conquering and reconquerings. People die all the time thinking like, holy shit, we're seeing it. Like, things were okay up until now. We've lived through some strife, but this is it. And they've been wrong every single time. Every time.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to remember that. Now, right now, we are going through tough times, and that is undeniable. But what was the last big set of rough times we dealt with? We dealt with this back in the 1960s, fundamentally. Nixon represented a pretty substantial threat, maybe arguably not as much, to our civil liberties. Arguably, though, quite a bit more. It really depends on your perspective and how far you project this down the line. And there are waves, and even within the waves, there are waves. And the United States of America is less than 300 years old. The point is, don't get too hung up on a sense of existential nihilism and focus instead on living the best life that you can live. Be happy, fulfill yourself, find people you enjoy spending time with, pursue your hobbies, and that fulfillment will make you a more effective advocate for your political desires, should you choose to be one. But don't get locked into this super hard doomerism stuff, because it's not good for you and it doesn't fix the world either.
Awesome. Thank you. I don't know if I could ask for a better answer.
No problem. Good luck.
Oh,
Thank you.
a good one. Ooh. Pin. What do we write pinned questions? All right. Logical Lallacies asks, what do you think about discourse online in terms of Twitch and YouTube circles? It seems that virtually everyone is arguing in some bad faith. Most debates aren't structured at all and are unproductive shouting matches where there's no clear topic or structure, or on panels completely unproductive where the entire discussion is at a standstill. What do you think will happen in the future of debates online, and do you have any ideas of how to improve the quality of discourse?
Oh no, it'll never change, ever. That's just how human beings are. The idea that like people engage in good faith. I think a lot of people think of like like the Greek philosophers. This is not the case. People have always been fucking crazy and irrational. Now, we are living in a very, very anti-intellectual time right now, and as an additional factor, Republicans live in a different universe than we do. They live in a completely different universe. They are utterly divorced from reality. And that is a bit of an issue, undeniably. But I also get into crazy, bad faith, heated arguments with other lefties who I know are living in the same reality as me. Like, I can agree with a person on 99.8% of their positions, and then they'll say, like, yeah, Trump and Biden winning are about the same for the left in terms of socialism, and I can recognize that this, like, like, fuck, you know? I don't know. I think that the main thing we should be looking for here is logical literacy. Is the ability for the audience, more so than any other group, to consume a piece of media and to be able to understand what's wrong with it. I've gotten much better at that with time. People who I used to idolize, I no longer do. And I know there are people in my audience who are like, oh, I used to love Sargon, but now I see that that was so dumb or whatever. And I think that process is important, you know, mentally weeding out the bad arguments and getting much better at recognizing which ones should be paid attention to.
Okay. Next up, we have Ubersmensch. And I'm going to unmute them in just a second. Got to scroll down through this massive amount of people. Where are you? Where are you? Here you are. Go for it.
Hello, can you hear me?
Mhm.
All right, cool. Hey, Vaush, thanks for taking the time. So, given your recent spat with Destiny in regards to Kenosha, I wanted to ask, would you submit yourself to the mob?
I think that... Do you know what my argument was?
Based on what I understand, it's kind of harm reduction, so it's kind of a leap of faith. It's better to submit to the mob rather than resist it, because then you cause more damage to a greater amount of people than potentially yourself, which I guess for most self-interested people, they find that a little crazy, but I was just curious, would you do that?
Yeah. Well, the context in which I was making that argument was, if you're in public and you kill another person in self-defense, so it's legitimate killing, other people might come to stop you, because from their perspective, they've just seen a murder. They think you're an active shooter, and those people will try to stop you. And in this situation, if there are only two options available, and those options are to surrender or to kill everyone who comes to stop you, I would advocate for surrendering. And my answer is that absolutely, yes. If I was in public and I was concealed carrying and somebody tries to kill me and I defend myself by killing the person attacking me and a bunch of people rush up to try to stop what they consider to be the active shooter, I would unload my magazine, drop my firearm, and put my hands in the air. Probably while screaming for them not to hurt me. Because they're also acting in legitimate self-defense. The people coming at me are also trying to stop, from their perspective, what is an active shooter. The alternative would be it's okay to slaughter any people who come to stop you. It's just in terms of, even from an individualist perspective, it's just better, because you would want the same from your end. Even if you're only self-interested, you would want other people who are in the position to potentially shoot you if you're trying to stop an active shooter to not shoot you, because they recognize that you're acting in legitimate self-defense as well.
So, I think I understand your point, but I think the issue is more, at least in the scenario that was based in terms of like a physical mob, where, you know, by definition, a mob's just a disorganized group that's sole purpose is to just create unlawfulness and also violence.
Yeah,
So,
the mob was...
when
it's a very loaded term. I don't like the term mob, and I shouldn't have let Destiny
sure,
use
but
it.
I mean, would you say Kenosha was a mob, or at least a riot?
With Kenosha, it was two people who were chasing that guy, so that's hardly a mob.
The whole event of Kenosha, wouldn't you say that event coalesces into a group committing acts of unlawfulness and violence?
Wasn't most of Kenosha just peaceful protesters?
So you don't think entire lot being burned in the cars
do you think everyone at Kenosha was burned the lot?
No.
Yeah, so the majority of people there were...
Does that matter for the individual if the mob comes
Wait. You're asking me if the group of people at Kenosha was a mob. I'm asking you which people. Like, if there was like a group of people running around setting fires, yeah, that's probably a mob.
I don't know like what the actual number is that would you could define like mob. I guess if we had to give a number, I'd say maybe like 25 more.
Yeah, I will say this: if there are 25 people running around starting fires, then I'm comfortable calling that group of people a mob. Even if it's 24, I'll bite the bullet on that one.
Well, I mean, if you're surrounded by 25 people, and let's just say you get an argument that leads to you punching one of the opposition, like the protesters or whoever, because something happens, and they, even whether you're justified or not, and the mob now reacts in ire against you, would you really give them that justification to potentially just beat the shit out of you? I don't know.
Wait, you realize the alternative would be you trying to fight 25 people, right? In the situation you're laying out, there are two. So to make the situation analogous, there are 25 people bearing down on you, and you either put your hands up in the air and give up, or you attempt to fist fight 25 people. In that case,
I'd rather go down swinging than just surrender them beating the shit out of me.
No, so wait. You don't know they'll beat the shit out of you. So what you're arguing right now is insane. If you're being attacked by 25 people, you increase your risk of getting hurt if you start fighting the 25 people.
I think it doesn't really matter regardless, because if the crowd thinks you did something wrong, and you actually did do an action, which is in this case you punched someone in the face, and in Kenosha the guy shot someone. My interest
is forming social rules that lead to the lowest number of people getting hurt. Generally speaking, an advocacy for self-defense does do that, because self-defense is essential for us to be able to collectively disincentivize acts of aggression against us, and I defend that. However, what you're arguing for right now isn't pro-self-defense, it's pro-suicide. If you're actually saying, like, literally anytime people try to stop you after you've done something that was in their eyes wrong, you get to kill all of them, you're arguing for something that hurts them and you more.
Well, okay, I'm gonna.
All right,
I guess I'm gonna use the Destiny moment here.
Uber?
Wait, I can do this one for 2 more minutes. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Well, I was gonna say I'm gonna do the Destiny thing here. Why is the Ahmed Arbery example wrong?
Because
why shouldn't Ahmed have not surrendered to those 3 guys if there would be less damage, I guess, like to the whole, or potential damage?
Ahmaud Arbery didn't have the gun, and he didn't aggress in the situation. People rolled up in front of him, blocked him in vehicles with firearms. This is like the like this it has nothing to do with the situation we're referring to.
Yeah. So I'm gonna have to cut this off here because this is getting long.
I just want to say, like,
I appreciate the time.
No worries. I'm just saying, when
it,
Destiny brought up the Ahmaud Arbery thing, what that indicated to me is that Destiny had no fucking idea what I was talking about, because Ahmaud Arbery has, like, the situation he found himself in has absolutely nothing to do with the takes that I've given on justifiable self-defense. So when Destiny made that claim, it really made me wonder whether or not he was paying attention to me,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
But
yeah, I won't take too much. I won't take any more of your time.
Yeah.
But thanks for the exchange.
no problem.
Cool.
Be well.
All right. Next one we got is from Tim Ko. I think that's how you pronounce that. I was wondering your opinions on trans people accessing public bathrooms of their gender identity. If you approve, how could you enforce who legitimately is or isn't trans?
Oh, you don't. Just go to the bathroom you want. Sexual harassment and assault are both illegal anyway, so if you commit either of those things while you're in a bathroom, whether or not that bathroom is aligned with your gender identity, then it's bad, and police will probably have some words with you. But no, I just, the policing people's gender is just never a good idea when it comes to bathrooms. Like, by what metric do you even measure that,
Yeah. Yeah, easy one. All right. Going from Hediocratic. To which degree does a community reflect its creator? Can a creator be critiqued on the basis of the actions of the community, like brigading for bans or harassing? Should a creator be praised for banning harassment against other creators, regardless of difference in opinions? How do you personally try to mold your community to fit your values?
Nah, it's highly contextual. Of course, content creators are responsible for their community, but only in an abstract sense. For example, if you have like a massive community and one person in that community is like a huge asshole who harasses other people, that's obviously not you. Now, if your community has a general disposition, particularly towards bigotry, I think that's obviously reflective of the type of people who, of the type of people who would enjoy your content, which is a reflection of you, When it comes to the harassment of other people, I think it really, you just go down to like the fine details, Would I give a fuck if my audience was being like super mean to a neo-Nazi online? Probably not. Would I give a fuck if my audience was like going really fucking hard against somebody who I had a disagreement with, but like probably isn't the worst human being on earth? Yeah, I would. But I think it's very contextual. I think that most people should probably do is make sure that their communities don't go crazy with the trigger finger, Like, your community isn't just going to ruin a person's life online off of a perceived slight, and with nothing to do with you. You know what I mean? You shouldn't have communities that do that.
All right.
I know that was in reference to me because of the Destiny drama earlier, but like it's not. Yeah, it's not. People said that my community was like brigading Destinies with reports when they had a screenshot of 2 people doing it, and one of those screenshots was from the v.gg chat at the time the discussion was having, and people were like, this is evidence that his community is gathering and organizing to ban Destiny. Like, okay, brigading and calls for reporting people are banned in all my communities, but obviously there's a degree to which we can't really be.
You can't control people, That's just how it is.
Not yet. Elon Musk's
Not
brain
yet.
chips.
Yeah, exactly.
Coming out.
Days I wish, as a Discord moderator, that I could control all of you little ants. All right. We got one from Comrade Julio. Why do you prefer market socialism over planned economics? Wouldn't a decentralized, rational planned economy be better than a market one?
Better in some ways, maybe. The main issue is that market economies trade with other market economies. And right now in the United States of America, if we were to abandon a market economy, even in like a revolutionary setting, we would be removing ourselves from the broader global trading market, which would lead to a massive decrease in the standard of living for the people in this country, such to the effect that we were probably better off before the revolution. So my goal would be to maintain the existence of a market system while the rest of the world moves towards a socialist or at least a worker-owned model, and then we could, as a global society, move towards decommodification, rather than attempting to do it piecemeal, which would only lead, I think, to economic isolation, different trade blocks, and a new Cold War. This is part of the reason why China right now is doing significantly better than the USSR had done 40 years ago. It's because China is smart enough to recognize that participation in bourgeois, capitalism is actually very useful for securing stability in the global marketplace. In a world that is capitalist, of course.
Okay, I think this one is a similar question, but it's from someone else. Would you? This is from Lady Lilith. Would you ever be interested in exploring leftist ideas that go further than market socialism on stream, such as anarchist theory, or how it can move beyond market socialism?
Yeah, I mean, sure, I'm happy to talk about it. I think I've had a couple of times where I've talked about stuff like that, though maybe not extensively. My channel will always be more concretely oriented towards things that I consider of immediate interest, though. But it would be fun, I think, to do a little bit of theory hour now and again. I actually had a lot of fun, going over theory for the little tanky Bernie or Bust video. And it helped clarify a lot of my positions in a more grounded or historical way. And I would like to expand that to more contemporary anarchist writers as well.
Okay, so that one, what was our next one? From Iamok. Why do you call the USSR not socialist when you support commodity production too?
Well, because they didn't. Not only did they still have commodity production, they didn't even democratize their commodity production. They failed on like every front there. The USSR didn't achieve either of the key points there. You know.
Right.
Yeah, because the workers in USSR didn't have shit all to do. The workers in the USSR didn't fucking have any goddamn control over the broader economic production of that state. Not even fucking close. So yeah, no, just didn't succeed in doing that.
Name alone.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. We got eDog813. Are you concerned with a resurgence of a Gamergate-like movement?
Oh yeah.
This person said in their question they'd like to personally ask that. You had to DM me. I'm sorry, buddy.
Well, the answer is absolutely. The thing is, Gamergate, I know this is crazy, happened 6 years ago. If you were 12 when it happened, you can legally smoke now, which means that we have a new demographic of people who are old enough to get angry about boobies online. Very angry. And I am concerned. I was very concerned about it with the autistic deer furry zookin trans chick on Twitch, because a lot of the comments that I saw in the live stream fails in the live stream fails threads about her were giving me fucking flashbacks to Gamergate, you know? It was the exact same shit. It was like, the company is kowtowing to these crazy Marxist, feminist, SJW, such and suches, and real games are being destroyed because... It was everything all over again. It was the same fucking rhetoric. I am worried. I think that if it happens again, though, it'll come from Twitch. Right now, YouTube is getting more left-leaning. The Sargon's running scared, you know? The old architects of Gamergate are sad and bloated and dejected failures now. But Twitch, well, Twitch has Hassan, and Hassan's very influential, but the majority of people on Twitch are A, very young, A, very male, and additionally, politically uneducated. I do worry about that community. I wish I could be on Twitch to influence that community. But alas, I have the nefarious architects of my demise have been successful in keeping me off that platform.
Yeah. How it goes. Get banned off of one place. I remember the times I was... Alright. Next one is from the shortest Charles. What are your thoughts on vanguardism in quote-unquote third world countries?
I mean, I think that there are models of vanguardism that can legitimately procure good results. A lot of the issue with vanguardism is that they think like, oh, vanguardism, okay, we don't have to pretend to be democratic anymore. A lot of people, when they think vanguardism, they just imagine being the, like, revolutionary, you know, to lead people off. That's what they imagine, which is so dumb. Vanguardism in the form of a sort of dual power structure that mobilizes to pick up the pieces of the state apparatus after it's been emptied out of its original owners, I think that can work just fine. But in practice, that's not how vanguardism tends to play out in third world countries or elsewhere. But if, I mean, a vanguard state leading a revolution in a third world country could well lead to better conditions, even if it does turn out to be authoritarian, you know? Like, Vietnam is in a better place right now than it was 100 years ago, that's for sure. So, you know, it's contextual.
All right. Next up, we got Festive Ninja. Since roughly 10% of absentee ballots / mail-in ballots weren't counted in the past 2018 election, I think, due to voter error, how would you make sure this doesn't happen in this current election, especially due to the vast increase in how many ballots will be sent through the mail?
Honestly, the most we can do here is, it sounds dumb, but write legibly. That actually does lead to a lot of, to a lot of error in mail-in voting and what have you. Write legibly, that's important. Also, most polling places have ballot drop-offs that you can do right outside the place. That way, you can fill out the card, and then drop it in the ballot right there, rather than relying on the mail service, which is going to be preferable considering the current position of the USPS. But that's the best we can do, really. Obviously, the earlier you vote, the better, in states that allow early voting. And if you have already gotten COVID and you're immune, you can just go in there and fucking vote, okay? Just stamp that shit. Get your lick the pen they have with the little metal chain next to the booklet, you know?
Go ahead and deep throat the thing. That's what the chain's there for. You can pull it right back out.
True. Makes it anal safe, too. Don't actually do any of the things that I just...
I do not endorse my statement.
Don't do that. Don't do that, guys. You can't get immune from COVID. Well, not that we know of.
Mm-hmm. You can get double dip, triple dip, all that.
Now, if you've
shit.
gotten COVID twice, you actually cannot get it 3 times.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah, so if you've gotten it twice, you are actually A-okay.
Oh, I didn't know that. Cool. Learn something new every day.
Don't. Yeah.
We got one from Kasky. What are your opinions on Trotskyism? It's very popular in the UK.
That's all I need to know that it's not good. Next question.
All right. I agree. Let's move on. Okay. Where's our next one? From Fish, what's the best way to push sock Dems to real anti-capitalism?
I think that for a lot of soak Dems, the process is almost kind of an inevitability, because the most radical voices will always win out in the how can you not cross that? The most radical voices will always win out in the dominant space because they're the most attractive, especially to young people who tend to be pretty edgy. And since people are getting politically radicalized younger and younger these days, that means there's going to be a general trend away from the center. Social democracy is not anywhere near the center here in America, but it is closer to the center than where I am. So I think that for a lot of people, it really is just a process of osmosis. You're just exposed to these arguments time and time again, people blaming capitalism for this and for that, and, you know, eventually that manifests in something a little bit more radical than social democracy.
Okay.
It's a tough sell, though. Moving people over to social democracy is relatively easy. Getting them from social democracy to socialism is a lot harder. That's why I push the worker co-op model. The worker co-op thing is very easy to understand in a very strong policy-based way, without having to rely on any esoteric theory, you know? None of this, like, the alienation of the worker from their craft. Not to say those arguments aren't good, they are. It's just they don't sell with everyone. But if you can say, like, hey, it is pretty fucked up that forces beyond your control can make you a petty dictator over a bunch of people in a workplace, so maybe we should do something about that. That's an easy argument to sell.
We got our next one from Rock JB. What do you think about Biden, quote unquote, punching left, aka virtue signaling to the moderates that he's not far left, but deliberately angering the left? What does this mean for our advocacy?
I think that it's evidence of the terrible narcissism of most online leftists that they think this is some deliberate attempt by Biden to antagonize lefties, rather than what it actually is. Biden trying to appeal to a colossal voter base in the center, rather than a bunch of lunatics on the extreme left. Like, a lot of lefties are so narcissistic. They're like, Biden is trying to signal to us he doesn't need us. Oh, he doesn't give a fuck about you. You're a fraction of the population. He's signaling to the people in the middle who represent a far larger base of non-voters. Calm the fuck down. Don't take it personally. Of course he's going to do that. Our goal is to move the Democrats left, not the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party has to follow the Democrats, of course, because people think the Democratic Party has, like, complete dictatorial control over what goes on. If that's the case, Bernie Sanders would not have happened in 2016 at all. The Democratic Party did not like Bernie Sanders being as popular as he was, but he was, and they couldn't stop him. They could stop him from being the president, but not from moving the entire fucking platform left, and that's great. So when it comes to, like, how democracy works, I think a lot of lefties legitimately don't know how this works. When you run for office, you can run as a Democrat, and you can believe, like, whatever the fuck you want. Why did I do that? That was my fault. I just accepted death. Whoops. What? I don't know why I did that. You can just run as a Democrat, and if they don't like that, you can run as an independent. And the DNC only gets donations from giant corporate donors because they were able to promise political bids. And they only can promise those political bids if people vote Democrat, and people will only vote Democrat if the people who normally vote Democrat aren't moved far enough to the left that they aren't being motivated by farther left candidates. By moving the Democrats left, that is to say the voters, the Democratic Party has to follow suit, or else they lose the relevance that they use as a bid to get the corporate donors that they use to pay their administratives their salaries, or their administrators their salaries. That's essentially how it works. So don't take it personally that Biden's doing what he's doing. He's just doing what you would have to expect him to do, which is looking out for his donors' interests. We need to change his donors' interests. And we can do it too. Bernie Sanders did it. Somebody in chat just asked, isn't this logic circular? And the answer is yes, it is. Democrats do what they think will get them votes because it'll get them corporate money, and the corporate money only gives them that money because they do the things that they can expect will get them votes. It's just... But here we are. We're a wrench in the machine.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that gives a lot of credit to politicians in general to have good logic skills. And
even if the politicians are stupid, like the ones who are in office, other people rise up. Look at how many incumbent moderate Democrats have been challenged or even beaten by, like, Justice Dems over the past 4 years. These people, a lot of them who are very powerful people in the democratic institution, have been laid low by, like, 35-year-old, basically, socialists? And it's pretty great. It's not holistic. It's not across the entire country, but it is a thing that can happen, and that's a process we have to exploit to the greatest possible degree.
Oh, for sure. I would just meant more that the more they use the kind of circular logic is because they're not,
Oh, sure. Well, the average politician is going to be reflective of their corporate interest, which is to say they're going to be stupid.
Yes.
Yeah. They're going to be stupid, weak-willed. Yeah. I think Biden. I don't think that Biden is stupid in a strictly intellectual sense. I'm sure Biden is probably pretty. I'm sure he would do okay at an IQ test, assuming that cognitive decline isn't a factor. But I do think he's weak and spineless. I don't think he has much in the way of principles. And that's good for us because it means that when he inevitably doesn't fulfill the popular interest of the Democrats, it'll be easy to look at the Democrats and go, hey, these moderates sure aren't getting enough done, huh? We might have to pull a little bit farther left if we want to get anything done in this country. You know?
I think, you just kind of link Kara after, like, everything that they do, and that'll lead them the right way.
And that's the conversation I want to be having, that's for fucking sure.
For sure.
Much rather be having that conversation than arguing about Bernie or bust with lefties. Jesus.
Yes. All right, we got one from Ben. How do you feel about the gun control issues that a lot of the Democratic Party is obsessed?
Somebody in chat. I don't understand how you can say that when it didn't happen with Obama. After 8 years of Obama, Bernie Sanders did better in the 2016 election than he did in the 2020 election. The Obama presidency ended up moving a fuck ton of people over to the left. That's why Bernie did so well in the next election, because people were disappointed with Obama. It did work. Now, we just need to keep doing it. We need to keep exploiting that process. I'm sorry, a lot of people say it didn't work with Obama, but Obama's that argument serves my interest. 8 years of a moderate corporatist ended up benefiting us because it gave people the disappointment they needed to move left towards Bernie Sanders. And likewise, after 4 years of Trump, Democrats are so terrified of another 4 years of Trump that they're willing to vote for Biden just for electability. We need that weak corporate Democrat that we can exploit the disappointment factor from. Sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, okay.
All right. Yeah, no, I get you. I'll have to repeat that one, I think, just so we get it.
Yes, please.
Make sure it was. Yeah. All right. Where was Ben's question? I lost it. Oh, where is he? Where are you, Ben? I don't want to lose your question. There it is. Ben, how do you feel about the gun control issues that a lot of the Democratic Party is obsessed with? Do you feel that quote-unquote gun safety / usage as a mandatory component of secondary education would be a good compromise? Would it pull a lot of right-leaning people to the left if Dems became cooler about guns?
Yeah, for sure. Gun issues, along with abortion, are one of the biggest wedge issues that drive people to the right. There are a fuck ton. Bo of the Fifth Column has talked about this to great extent. Now, whether or not my opinions on the efficacy of guns and revolutionary action changes, that doesn't change the fact that the Democrats' idiotic obsession with pushing for gun reform or gun control is only ever going to hurt them. It hurts them to an insane degree. It's unbelievable how many fucking people in the Rust Belt or how many people in the South would be moved over to the Democrats if they thought they could keep their guns and get a better shot at healthcare. A lot of this is also because the Democrats don't push back in Republican fear-mongering. Republicans say the Democrats are going to take your guns, and what do the Democrats say? The Democrats say, well, listen, Jack, the assault rifles, they did horrible things. We're not gonna... They don't really counter the narrative. They just kind of meander. It's really, really dumb. It's bad strategy. Also, running beta was a fucking presidential candidate when his number one issue was some stupid fucking gun ban. Yeah, no. The Democrats are, like, shooting themselves in the foot with this. It's incredibly dumb.
Next one up, we got is Swindus. What Trump quote-unquote political tactic annoys you the most?
What Trump political tactic? I don't know, lying? That's probably the big one. I'm not a big fan of that one. I don't like the constant line, but that kind of encompasses everything else he does. I don't really know. Most of my frustration is directed at the Democrats for responding to it poorly, because everything that Trump does, I can expect from, like, you know, a middling fascist. There was a post on this on Reddit where somebody was posting quotes about the Hitler administration, which I thought was really interesting. A lot of people think that Trump can't be like a fascist because he's bumbling and stupid. Hitler was bumbling and stupid. If you actually read up on the organization and don't jerk off to all the fucking wannabe history nerds who cream themselves thinking about, like, the dimensions of a Tiger tank, you know, what you learn is the Hitler administration was incredibly incompetent. It was mostly funded off of war profiteering. It was completely unsustainable internally, and a lot of their civic policies were managed, like, unbelievably poorly, like to a comedic degree. And Hitler was a fucking comedy man. He was a lazy, incompetent, ego-obsessed blowhard. And so I don't think that the silliness is an indication that one cannot be sort of on that side of things, you know? I don't know how I got to talking about that, but I still believe it.
We got there. Okay. Where's my next question? Who's up next? God, there's so many. All right. All right, next is Madoka, who wanted to do this one with their voice. You're unmuted. Go for your question, Madoka. You're unmuted. You gotta unmute yourself.
True.
You just DM me that you wanted to.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. My question was, do you believe in any forms of gun control? And if you don't, what are your solutions to gun violence?
Presently, I don't. I think that for the most part, because it varies state by state, I think presently for the most part, the state that I live in, Washington, has fine gun laws, allows for open carry without a license, castle doctrine, I'm fine with that, I think. I'm not too familiar with gun laws that exist presently. When it comes to the problems with gun violence, however, my problem has much less to do with the existence of guns and a lot more to do with the pragmatic reality of what we can do now that we live in a country with the guns that exist. So, it is a... Wow, I lived. It is a fact of the matter right now that America has an unbelievable number of guns within its borders, and that no matter what we do, those guns will always be able to find themselves in the hands of criminals. Always. Always, always, always. There's just nothing we can do. We have too many. Like, we couldn't even do prohibition. If you think we could get every gun off the street, that's fucking insane. It's not gonna happen. But, with that in mind, there are things that we can do to make our country a little bit safer, and I think the main... I don't know... Wait, what is this game? Oh, it's Tail Grab with 5 people? Okay. Big map for 5 people. Sorry, I'm gonna have to concentrate on this one for a little bit. The main thing we can do is end the war on drugs. A ton of the gun deaths in this country are a product of the drug war, because gangs in underprivileged communities are able to make their money by selling drugs on an illicit market, because those drugs aren't available for commercial purchase, and that means they have to use weapons to defend their property from other gangs and also from the police. And that's where a fuck ton of the shootings come from. That's why the black violence is so high, in large part because these are the communities most affected by those policies. So getting rid of the drug war, that's a huge step in the right direction right there. I know it's a big right-wing dog whistle, but I stand by it. Mental health care. I think that a lot of the big sort of sporadic disordered shooting that we see is a product of people who could probably benefit from a better system for identifying antisocial personality disorder or other similar conditions. Another big thing that we could look at, gun culture. Gun culture in America is fucking cancer. Gun culture in America is unbelievably dangerous, where every gun is like an extension of your penis, and, you know, the world is out to get you, and only you can save yourself if you have the balls to pick up a gun, and bleh. It's really, really destructive. And it's no wonder with all of that there are a bunch of boys who go out there, hurting themselves and others because they think that the gun is a necessary extension of their masculinity. If we can address these things... Oh, and fucking get rid of the NRA, by the way. If we can address these things, I think we could massively cut down on the gun violence in this country without making a single policy that restricts gun ownership. And once we've done those things, I think then we can have conversations about those who still do have guns.
Okay. Let's see. Next up, we just had. All right. Rope. Long season studio version or long season live?
Long season?
I don't know what it is. I thought you might.
I have no idea what the fuck that means. Long season?
Maybe it's an anime? I don't know.
It's a song, I'm being told. Probably the long version. I don't know. Sure.
It would fit with the name.
I don't know. Fuck all about music. But yeah, go for it. Sure.
Okay. All right.
Apparently the long version is half an hour long. I see. Pretty pog, I'd say. Pretty pog.
I do like long songs, so I'll have to check that out after this. All right. Reborn God. What do you think about what do you think being human means?
I think that being human is a largely biological descriptor. I think being a person is what really matters. I guess I would, and I'm going to assume you meant person, because my answer for human is boring. It would be something that has, the biological makeup that fits within the range of what we currently understand to be a human. But when it comes to what a person is, that's the thing. Consciousness is unique in that there's no way to empirically verify it exists in other people. We can verify whether other people have neurons that are firing. We can verify whether or not other people have this or that, the 2 arms, 2 legs. We can't verify whether they're having a conscious experience. It's just not possible with our current technology. It's possibly not possible at all. It might not even be capable of being done. Which means that our definition of person is largely inductive. What is a person? A person is something that I think is like me. And what is like me? Well, I don't really know. But I don't think being a person is limited to being a human. I think it's entirely possible that in the future we might be contending with, AI or extraterrestrials, or even modified animals on Earth that are given the ability to think and communicate to the extent that we are. I would even think it possible that some of the animals on Earth now are advanced enough that we could call them persons to an extent. Chimpanzees have an extraordinarily high capacity for learning and problem solving. They form social bonds, and they can communicate with each other in ways that we can, not directly understand, but we can interpret. And they may be pretty fucking stupid compared to us, and they definitely are, but I don't know. 4-year-old humans are stupid, but I'd call them persons. Like, I wouldn't say that, like, a 4-year-old human is an unperson, but a 4-year-old human is probably a lot stupider than a chimpanzee. Maybe not when it comes to their language centers, but in other ways. I don't know. It's an interesting question.
Okay. Fun one. Always a fun one. Okay. Next up, we have Sam, but with an extra S at the beginning. After learning about how violent uprisings are less likely to succeed than peaceful ones, what's your position on gun laws? And if it's a philosophical issue to you, is keeping them worth the gun violence present in the U.S.?
I am still going over the methodology of those studies. I've answered this, I think, in the
I think it was a column.
Previous questions. But I will say this. I do think there are plenty of conditions by which those studies could be correct, and also gun ownership amongst the proletariat can be justified. I need to look more into them. I'll try to develop an opinion on this, but it's kind of hazy territory. I'll have to think more about it. But my mind is being opened.
From Schmilf? Yeah, Schmilf. Let's go with that pronunciation. How would China impact a hypothetically socialist USA?
China, a hypothetically socialist USA? Like market socialist or proper socialist? A market socialist USA could conceivably maintain the exact same trade relations with other countries, but a proper socialist USA, with the decommodification of, well, everything, well, I think the inevitable consequence of that would basically just be China becoming a world power and us not being able to stop them. I don't want China to be a world power. I don't think that China has the same internal mechanisms which would allow it to democratize and to become more just with time that America does. America is a shithole country. I think China is also a shithole country, but at least in America I can disagree with my government and not get arrested for it. Yet. So that's lovely. Yeah, I would say that in all likelihood, if we were to go socialist, it would just mean there would be a gigantic hole in our trade blocks that could be solved by an expansion of Chinese soft power, and that could turn out very poorly for us. They would block us out of trade relations, probably pressure our allies into prioritizing relations with them as well. It's tricky stuff. All this happened with other countries who were part of the Soviet bloc as well. So this isn't unprecedented.
Okay. You got one from Sam.D. You agree with there's no ethical consumption under capitalism, but I imagine you agree that some forms of consumption are more ethical than others. If this is the case, you must support veganism. Do you agree?
I do support... Oh, no, that's easy. Yeah, I do support veganism. Absolutely. Everybody should, if they want to, take that plunge and avoid consuming animal products. Vaush, then why aren't you? For the same reason I don't give all my fucking money to charity, because just because something is good doesn't mean you should have to do it. Yeah, if you want to, if you can, go for it.
All right. Amelia asks, I'd like to come... Oh, they want to come on for this question. Amelia. You gotta... DM me.
Guys, I've seen the clip of Destiny. You don't need to keep linking it.
Amelia, go for it.
Hello. How are you?
I'm doing great.
I have actually come on your stream before, actually, but my computer didn't have a mic, so I couldn't talk.
I'm really glad you said that, because I was about to lie and say, yeah, I think I recognize your voice. And I'm really glad you said that quickly, because otherwise you would have been able to make me look like an absolute fucking idiot. With that clarification.
Okay, so I have my question is, I have questions about how gender abolition could work in a way that doesn't seem colonialist. Like, how do we deconstruct the gender binary without getting rid of people's cultural genders, like the Hajira in India or Two-Spirit in indigenous/Native American cultures?
Yeah, my question is, why do either of those things have more cultural importance than just man or woman in, like, Saudi Arabia? You know?
Just typically, like, how could we say that, like, I don't know. I don't really like the idea of taking away that part of someone else's culture, specifically, like, because, hey, like, we've already taken away big parts of their culture before, so why should we decide, hey, this is bad, this is regressive, we shouldn't have this?
Well,
like,
I'm not advocating we take away any
that?
I'm not advocating we take away any of those things. What I'm advocating for is that all these cultures sort of collectively recognize, and inevitably all cultures will sort of morph together with time, or at least change. They recognize that there are problems with gender as a concept, and, you know, it's kind of cringe, and maybe they should stop. But I'm not advocating that, like, Western gender abolitionists are taking to the streets in Kabul to you know, rip out of the hands of the gendered ones whatever signifiers they're clinging on to, you know?
Okay.
Yeah. I would want it. See, the thing is, this is the thing with gender, okay? It matters until it doesn't. It matters a lot until it doesn't. But the more people try to pull it away from you, the more it'll matter to those people. If you actually tried to, like, forcibly get rid of gendered conceptions, then people would be, like, trad wives and trad husbands would be, like, huddled together in their Wisconsin log cabins, like, surrounded by booby traps and firearms, like, waiting for the genderless police to arrive. I don't want that to happen. And with time, people will, you know, maybe 1,000 years from now, like, somebody will go out and they'll be, like, you know, very feminine, and they'll be AFAB and very feminine or whatever, and they'll be, like, very gendery with other people. You know, they'll say, like, oh, hi, miss, and people will weird champ her, and that'll be, like, it, you know? It'll be like, why? Why are you doing that? We have new
Yeah.
pronouns that aren't gender, but that's it. Like if she wants to have the giant boobies, then it's all good.
Okay. Can I answer? Can I ask another like small question?
Yeah, sure.
This is very quick. Yeah.
I'm just wondering, like, how do we deal with people within gender abolitionist movements who are like really turfy about it and kind of want to like, and how do we?
Oh wait,
like,
you cut out. Who are really turfy about it and
want like sex to kind of like replace gender, and how we could work like trans people into like that or whatever. Like like how do we deal with those type of people like co-opting the movement?
the point of gender abolitionism is to help people who are hurt by social expectations surrounding gender. So anyone who's like, okay, now that we're doing that, let's establish these new expectations where we exclusively designate people's social roles and terminology based on the biological characteristics of their like, I think these people are ridiculous. In any properly gender abolition community, you know, any decent community, these people would be weeded out very, very quickly. I know that gender abolitionism is something that TERFs have kind of tried to worm themselves into, but they're very stupid and they're not very good at it. Because what they invariably end up doing is pushing gender essentialism, and I think it's very easy to point this out when it happens. Yeah.
Okay, and can I have one like final question? I hate like doing this.
Yeah,
but,
go for it.
How do we get? I don't want to like. I feel like gender is really important to me as a person, and I know that's like a bit of like, hey, that seems like, oh, well, slavery was important to the slave master.
No. I don't think of it that way. I think that's very silly.
But I've been very sorry. This is a topic that makes me so emotional. I'm so sorry.
All right.
I've like fought for such a long time to be recognized for who I am, and like sometimes the concept of it kind of makes me like a little bit scared. Like, does my life like mean anything, or like what am I doing with it if it's all just like for this superfluous like concept? So like how would you go about like doing that in regards to like trans people like me who are very emotional about this topic, like getting it across properly?
Yeah, of course. I mean, first of all, what the fuck isn't a superfluous social construct that's ultimately meaningless when viewed from a cosmic perspective? I mean, how many hours of my life have I spent trying to get better at like video game? Like, anybody who would be like, oh, you care too much about this thing, it's not essential. Like, well, what the fuck is essential? Eating? I don't know. It's just a very so I don't think it's healthy to think about that in that way. But
Okay.
but I understand what you're saying though, and what I would say is first a pragmatic response and then a more theory-driven one. Pragmatically, gender abolition is going to be a centuries-long project of slowly de-emphasizing the importance of gender for people. You will be dead way before anyone even comes close to like starting to push for any kind of social de-inclination away from gender. You'll be very dead. You'll be decomposed. But on a more theory-driven level, I would argue that the reason it matters so much to you, and by the way, that's not just because of you or who you are, the most violently passionate, zealous defenders of gender are cisgender fucking straights who have no idea of the concept. Nobody defends their gender identity quite like frat boys and sorority girls. They are by far the most aggressive advocates, the breeders. So you shouldn't feel out in the cold in that respect. But we care about these things because we're led to care about these things. I wouldn't have spent so much time trying to get good in League of Legends than if I lived at a time and a place where League of Legends wasn't available to me, or where I wasn't turned on to it because my father was a nerd and he got me into computer games when I was young. And I think that as time goes on, people care a little less about this, and maybe such to the extent that they won't even really mind how they're referred to, or that they're referred to at all in those ways. And when that does happen, if there are still people who care deeply, I think that any gender abolitionist project which excludes outliers is one which is not actually concerned with the well-being of people. Somebody really cares about that stuff. They should be included, you know? Sorry, that was super wordy on my end. I apologize.
No, that actually covers like everything I've wanted to talk about this subject with you. So I'm actually very grateful for that. Thank you.
No problem.
All right. Next up, we got Spaz, who asks, Vaush, I'd like to hear about your model of how social rules are developed. Do you think we have an obligation to follow agreed upon social rules? Do you advocate the idea that people have an obligation morally to help others above and beyond just refraining from hurting them?
That's actually very difficult. Utilitarianism doesn't do a distinction between obligatory and supererogatory behavior. That is to say, a utilitarian can very easily determine whether something is good or bad, but not whether or not you should do something. Because you shouldn't necessarily have to do everything that is good. You would be a slave to utility. Nobody lives their lives like that. But you can then you can have higher order rules, for example, like, well, it may be good for you to donate all of your money to charity because they need it more than you, but it's also good to give people a certain degree of autonomy when it comes to their personal belongings, because otherwise everyone gives away everything they have and everyone's miserable. And then you get into like this complicated, like 19 layers deep, overlapping series of justifications. When it comes to social rules, though, and this is, I think, perhaps a more interesting subject to discuss, I used to be a very edgy teenager, you know, in a perfect society, man, why should people have to not put their elbows on the table? But the more I think about it, I think that the concept of manners and arbitrary social rules are actually very important. For this reason, especially. It weeds out people who can't help but make those around them unhappy. What I mean by that is, when it comes to the manners, usually they're very arbitrary. You know, how we conduct ourselves at a dinner table, it's all very, you know, it's not optimized. But if you think about it, and I think you should because I had to for a very long time, if you think about it, people who consistently don't abide by social norms often end up being bad in other ways too. That is to say, guys who tend to keep being creepy to girls are usually a threat to end up raping somebody down the line, or at least it's an indicator of some kind. People who are inconsiderate when it comes to your roommate's belongings often tend to do stuff like property damage or theft. So these little indicators, manners, courtesy, civility, while they're not on their own necessary, and they're completely arbitrary, what they do is instill in people, A, a general sense of social obligation, and B, most importantly, a warning system for people who are not interested in abiding by standards of decency. And I think that's very, very valuable.
All right, we got a heavy one next from kind of a heavy one. Kakuja Maru. Hey Vaush, can I get some personal life advice? I'm half Mexican and Asian white to make up the other half. But my skin is brown enough to be seen as Hispanic. I live in Texas, and every Hispanic person I encounter at work automatically assume I know Spanish and speak the language and treat me differently when I tell them I don't. They all ask me why I don't speak it, and I tell them it's complicated. How should I deal with being Hispanic and feeling lesser than the other Spanish speakers tell me I'm not Mexican?
Man, that is such a terrible question to ask me, a white guy.
I was like, oh.
I mean, let me, man, because the only thing I can really say is like generic self-help confidence advice, but that's not what you're looking for. You're looking for like, how do I navigate this really complicated multi-ethnic sort of maze where I have to manage my identity but also the expectation of others? The answer to that is I have no fucking idea. Nobody has ever asked me to be a certain thing or to act a certain way because of my skin color or background, which is, I mean, I guess that's why privilege for you. You know, I'm white, but like, what do people say about that? You know, I can do whatever the fuck I want. White people can rap these days. There are no bars on me. But then when it comes to like minority groups, a lot of minority folks kind of get shit on by the establishment, so they want comrades. And the problem with that is that if you are looking for allies against a system of injustice, but you feel like your allies are selling out to that system, then you feel like you're kind of left in the cold. That's why a lot of black people tend to get upset with other black people when they feel like they're selling out to white folk, you know? And you're getting the Hispanic edge of that. I don't really know what the answer to that is. Honestly, I have to defer to generic self-help advice, which is to be confident in your identity, to not be apologetic for the things that you are or that you like. And if people give you shit, just say that you like being who you are, but in like a less gay way, you know? Like, you don't have to say like, yeah, well, my heart beats like this, and that's the truth I follow. But you can find a way to put that. I wish I could give you a more comprehensive answer, but in reality, that is the limit of my experience. Oh, but you can be as gay as you want. You know what I meant. I meant like in an anime over earnest, over eager way. Not okay.
Yeah. It's a tough one. Kali Yuga has kind of a 3 questions in one. I'm gonna ask the first one.
Sure.
Because I think that's the most important one.
Now these are. By the way, I just want to say, actually, I've done a fair number of Discord AMAs, and I think these are some of the best questions I've actually gotten.
Right?
Normally it's drama bait, or I get asked like the same 4 questions over and over. I think this has actually been a pretty fair rapport so far. So yeah, go for it. You've clearly got a good judge.
we got a good person on. I put my best on this one. So the Kali Yuga's kind of first one here is: do you believe state-owned enterprises where workers have management rights or a right to co-determination, like under Germany's Rhine capitalist model, counts as a form of market socialism, since there is social ownership with worker management, and the end goal is for social and workers' ownership?
I don't think it's market socialism, because it's not really proper ownership in the way that it would be in a private setting, because ultimately any government agency is answerable to the people. That's always going to be like the final, the final call there. It can't be any other way. Whereas a private company, if it's owned by those who work there, like its ultimate goal is to serve those who own it. Fuck! Damn it! Sorry, it fell off.
Yeah.
So, but I do think it's significantly better than the traditional model of state ownership. Now, with that being said, in a socialist country, you're still probably going to have a robust state apparatus, and in such a society, I would like to see those apparatuses owned in that way, preferably. Yeah. It's like a nice bug. Like, it's better, It's like the frosting.
Right.
Right.
I'm gonna go for he has like a 3-parter here. I'm gonna go for your third one. It's because I want to get as many people through. I want to get as many different people, as we can. And this is kind of a quick one. How do you prevent backsliding into fascism if many people under democratic societies hate democracy and equality?
I don't think that. I don't know how much they hate democracy and equality so much as they're terrified and stupid. Because almost everyone, except for people who are like red-pilled on fascism, there's a difference between being a fascist, which I think your average Republican voter definitely leans towards, and knowing that you're a fascist. There's a big difference between being the kind of dumb fuck who says you love democracy, but then don't think that Donald Trump represents a threat to it, and a person who will actively say democracy is degenerate, equality is a lie, so on and so forth. There are people who are like that, though. Those people, the people who are active enemies of democracy, not just passive obstacles to it, those people are probably all school shootings and terror attacks in waiting, so eventually the police will sweep them up. When it comes to the vast majority of the people with fascist inclinations, I think that materially these people will be moved away from their biases as long as the society they live in is managed well. And what I mean by that is, I think that the inclination towards authoritarianism and anti-egalitarianism is usually just a product of people who think that those things come at the expense of the success of their society. That's why they talk so much about affirmative action, government handouts, the Republicans, I mean. It's not just a dog whistle, it's also just a feeling of anxiety that's built from a sincere belief that the pursuit of certain values is destroying the country. But if it doesn't destroy the country, and if the country gets better, then I think a lot of those people will move off. And for the remainders, hopefully there won't be enough of them for them to really cause trouble. Hopefully.
Mm-hmm. Right. We got Vinder Van Graff asking, do you think Barack Obama had any redeemable qualities? As in acts and policies he proposed, signed, and advocated for? I hear a lot of libs say he was powerless in a lot of the stuff he attempted.
I'd say Iran and DACA were like the two big ones that really, really impressed me. The gay marriage one was inevitable. In fact, I bet you that if Obama hadn't legalized gay marriage, Trump would have. Just because it was such an inevitable thing. Like, it was so obviously going to happen. It was just a matter of who ended up signing the paper. But with regards to DACA and the Iran deal, I think those were two, like, genuinely. It wasn't Obama, but the Supreme Court. Yeah, sorry, that was. I apologize. That was allegorical. I didn't literally mean he signed a. Okay, sorry. My attempt at flowery language has led my chat to believe I don't understand. Okay. Anyway, I liked those two things. Obviously, the gay marriage was good too. But those are the two things that impressed me. I think he could have done a hell of a lot more, though.
For sure. Now, we
Chat
got
doubts me.
one...
Chat doubts me. They don't know. They don't believe.
They don't believe the allegory?
They don't believe the allegory.
The flowers. We got Benrith the Third. How does property ownership work in socialism? Are there literally no homes? Or just restrictions on businesses?
Socialism delineate a distinction between personal and private property. Private property is stuff that you own essentially to make money. It's more complicated than that, but basically that. It's stuff that you own to advance your position in the marketplace. It's capital. Whereas personal property you actually use yourself, like you personally, not to work. You use it to live. Your house, your toothbrush. This is personal property. So you would own that, at least in a socialist society. When it comes to the ownership of businesses, they would ideally be collectively owned, or at least managed by some sort of democratic agency. And in those senses, the ownership would hopefully be collectively distributed amongst those to whom those agencies are accountable. For worker co-ops, that would be the people who work there. For state-owned apparatuses, that would be the general public, so on and so on. There are, of course, a lot of complexities there, but rest assured, you'll get to own it, of course. It's be pretty ridiculous. No one's turning that over to the state.
Yeah, no toothbrushes, no Lamborghinis. None of the good stuff.
Maybe no Lamborghini. We'll talk about...
that was a bad example.
We'll talk about the Lamborghinis, okay?
The Lamborghinis come later. This one's from Union Wave, who, if I'm not mistaken, asked it in VC. So Union Wave, you're unmuted. Go for your first question.
Poggers.
Pog.
All right, there we go.
All right. Let me just say it word for word so I don't mess up on my questions. All right. Are you pro or anti-nuclear power as a viable solution to phase out fossil fuels as the dominant energy provider as we make the move to renewable energy?
I am not ideologically opposed to nuclear power in any way, shape, or form. A lot of fear-mongering on nuclear power is very illegitimate. However, from what I've read, and extensively for what I've read, nuclear power is not a good option at the moment because those facilities take a very long time to build. They take a long time to get set up because you're obviously, the uranium, it takes a while to... I'm not familiar with the technicalities of the process, but it takes a while to get things set up. And the length of time that it would take to get those things set up is such that it is not sufficient to address our immediate climate problems. So it looks like, from what I've read, so long as it's properly subsidized and supported, wind and solar energy are much more viable paths towards addressing our climate problem. Someone in chat is saying thorium reactors, very possibly. It's just what I've read about nuclear.
Thorium's poggers.
I mean, yeah, it's like a fantasy
And this next question doesn't go directly to you, Vaush. This goes to any trans and non-binary people in chat.
Oh, no.
I am writing a story in which the main character is trans, biologically male, but identifies more with the male.
Mm-hmm.
and I want to get an insight of the struggle of being alienated, finding out who you are, coming to terms with it.
Oh, all right. Yeah. So if anyone wants,
Chat's fucking around. I don't give a shit. They're retards.
Whoa! No,
yeah,
they're
like,
fucking around because you said.
Yeah, I just want insights to.
Yeah. And that goes for people in here. If you have a thought on this, just DM the guy and
write this as authentically as possible.
Yeah, they were curious because you said biologically male but identifies male.
Was that a misspeak?
Yeah, biologically female but identifies male. Yes.
Okay, there we go. Okay, that was
Yes,
that was
a
the
misspeak.
primary source of their confusion. So it would be, in fact, this time it is you who is the retard, my friend.
Now who's flowery and allegorical now?
Hey, I speak faster than my brain can catch
No,
up.
hey,
Listen,
me too. I'm kidding. I love
my
you.
first language is Spanish, so
All
I
three
speak
of us
fast.
are the same way on.
Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah, no, of course, guys. Yeah, of course. I always advocate.
Spanish is a fast-speaking language.
Make
so
friends,
I
guys.
slumber.
It is.
And also, Vaush, why are you bad at video games?
Listen. There are some video games I'm good. I'll have you know that I was world ranked in the Diamond Mines game mode in Bejeweled 2. Okay.
I can't stand up to that. That's gamer cred.
That's Bejeweled, though.
It's true.
I can do that like right now.
Yeah, but can you get world
Do
rank?
it. Put up or shut up. All right, I'm just beating you back for a second because we got to move on to the next person. But we appreciate you.
I was moving so fast, my fucking phone was lagging. My iPhone 4? I don't even know. It's just a while ago.
What phone was lagging? I like this next one. I like how this one's worded. This is from Pipu. Like that name. Even if / when Biden gets elected, even if the revolution happens tomorrow or whatever, I often wonder how on earth we're gonna undo the collective cognitive damage to America's ability to think about issues caused by Trump and the Republicans. I.e., how the hell do we undo the last decade or two of brainwashing that people like Rush Limbaugh, Ben Shapiro, Republicans in general, etc. Trump supporters and the ideology are gonna stick around for decades after Biden wins. What do?
This is the hardest question right now in America.
It really is.
Yeah, I don't have a super easy answer for that one, I'm afraid. It's a real head scratcher. No! Sorry. It's a real head scratcher. I think that we can, on a policy level, there are things we can do by addressing very poor education, pushing certain classes. Like, for example, I think that sociology should be mandatory in high school. Just one course, you know? Philosophy would probably also be good. But those are like long-term solutions. I think another big thing that we could do is we could go back to the FCC having the legal authority to punish news outlets that spread misinformation. I think that's a very, very big one. I think that a credentialism for being a newscaster or like a news system should probably be something that can be awarded or taken away, and there should probably be an impartial government body, or as much as we possibly can, that overlooks that. That would probably lead to a constraining the language of outlets like Fox News. If we could apply it to talk radio, that'd be good as well. Can you imagine if there was a threshold for dangerous misinformation that you could meet to get kicked off of radio? Holy shit, that would be incredible. After all, you already need an FCC permit to be able to get on the radio wave, so it's not like they don't have jurisdiction over their presence there. Whatever the case may be, if there are things like that done, I would want the standard to be fix people who are lying, not get rid of people who disagree with us. If there are people online who are like, you know, saying, hey, this true thing, and that's why we need a white ethno-state, I don't think the FCC should punish for that, because there's a difference between lying and being a shithead.
Right. All right. Next one, how would you say? Colorfully Signet. Got it. That. Don't know as that one was tripping me up. Do you think that in any democratic system, statistically, majority groups will inevitably and necessarily possess greater institutional power. How do you think the protections of statistical minority groups, that as it seems now will always be minorities, i.e. LGBTQ people, disabled people, and the neurodivergent people?
I wouldn't worry about it. I can tell you about one statistically minority group that has maintained a surprising amount of power in our country and in other Western countries for hundreds of years. No, I'm sorry. I am of course referring to straight white men who make up an incredibly small fraction of the global population. In all seriousness, though, well, a lot of Jews are straight white men. So, in all seriousness, though, statistical sorry.
Sorry, there was actually just another part to that question. Just real, and can be protected in an anarchist society without a centralized state government.
Oh,
so they were more asking the context of that. Yeah.
Without a centralized state government. Well,
Yes.
I remember this was the subject of a disagreement I think that Destiny had with Non-Compete a while ago. Non-Compete was arguing that once you've eliminated capitalism, there are no longer any systemic motivators for engaging in racial prejudice. And I think that's bullshit. You can absolutely get rid of capitalism and still have people be racist. That's ridiculous. I think that in an anarchist society where we don't have any sort of broader regulatory group, like a government, well, there should be a government, but without a state. The most that could really be done is to have an overlapping system of economic and social dependencies where the collective dependency is only maintained as long as everything within that system meets a certain set of standards. So if you have a bunch of syndicates that all control or all manage workers of different fields, and those syndicates work together and they trade goods and they exchange resources on the conditions that they all meet a certain set of responsibilities and expectations, and if they don't do that, they get excluded from that system. That's the best way to do it. Mutual codependence, or mutual dependence, I guess. Codependence. But again, this is all very theoretical stuff, and the farther away we get from the current day, the farther we get into anarchism, the more shaky my answers are going to get, just by nature of how it is, you know?
It's an evolving situation.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so next up, that was Colorful Signet. Okay, from Pluto. Do you genuinely want a socialist revolution in America? Do you not think we should do our best to reform America and to avoid revolution, since revolution would inevitably cause a lot of bloodshed?
Well, the status quo causes a lot of bloodshed. The reason we should avoid revolution isn't because revolutions are dangerous, it's because we would lose right now. That's like the main problem, really. If there was a revolution in this country right now, it'd be a fascist revolution. It would not be. Your average Republican voter is ready to take to the streets to stop the violent BLM looter rapists, you know? Your average Democrat is not ready to take to the streets to destroy capitalism. Not even close. So we have to recognize, in that respect, we are very much not ready. And until then, we bide our time. And one of the ways we bide our time is with reform. Reform can be a mechanism by which we can consolidate the power of our class interest, and also signpost our power and our relevance to other groups. If we're able to succeed, for example, in getting reforms pushed that are of our interest, it'll make it easier for us to recognize that we have such and such control over the general discourse, such and such control over the political systems of bourgeois democracy. I'm not at all against reform. Interestingly, Karl Marx once wrote that America may be a country where it is legitimately possible to achieve socialism just through electoralism, without violence, just through voting, just through participating in the political process. Now, I don't agree with Marx on that because Marx was, of course, liberal, but it just goes to show that lefties are, or at least shouldn't be, averse to reform.
Yeah. Shouldn't avoid electoralism if you can use it.
Wait, somebody in chat just said, you give power to your oppressor through reform. Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude, my epic Marxist bro. you totally give power to the capitalists when you reform reform our country so that unions can form again. Yeah. Well, getting rid of Glass-Steagall? Yeah. That's we're putting power in the hands of the capitalists with that one. To Taft-Hartley? Oh yeah, get rid of that. Oh man, we are just jerking those capitalists off when we do that. No, of course not. There are certain types of reform that give hands to our enemies, absolutely, but that is not ubiquitous.
Right. All right. Next one we had was from Pancake, who wants to ask it himself. So, Pancake, you're unmuted. So, go for it.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Abundantly.
Okay. Perfect. Sorry.
Same kind of thing.
Okay. Okay. I have something to ask. Vaush, would you say that you are you a stranger to love?
Get this fucker out of here. Get him out of here.
Get it out. We don't need your 2007 memes. What is this?
Kill him. Kill him.
Kill him. Send him to the Sarlacc pit. What is this bullshit?
What's his IP address?
We're sending. Listen, you're getting swatted.
I see it. 128.7. No. Okay. What did he say? He said, "You're no stranger to love." He was the Rickroll.
He was doing the Lay Funny epic.
I love you, buddy.
All right. We love you. That was great. He was asking me, he was like, "Please make sure I can go. I've got a really important one." I'm like, "Okay,
oh yeah,
all right."
yeah, that's how they always are.
I know, but hey, that one's classic. I can't get mad at that. All right, who's next in the list? Jesse Cam Metal. Like that profile picture you got there, bud. I saw Vaush's video on how the left is losing the culture war. Besides working to be on top of BLM support and riding with Biden, what else can leftists do to make sure Biden gets elected? And after that, what can the left do to keep the momentum up, since liberals will probably relax now that the bad orange man gone?
When it comes to getting the Biden elected, I think the best thing that we can do, so we have to recognize that the bloc we're fighting over right now is largely the undecideds and the moderates. There are a lot of people who are disappointed that it's not Bernie. There are a lot of people who are just super disengaged. The main thing that we can do, honestly, is we can consolidate our existing base by working to increase the likelihood of the votes we already have going through. That is to say, get people who are Democrat-leaning registered to vote, go to college campuses, help people find out where nearing voter booths are, help people understand what they need to do on voting day, that kind of stuff. The likelihood of us, a very small and radical demographic, being able to sway moderates is pretty low unless we all suddenly become, like, media pundits or something like that, which you guys aren't, to my knowledge. I know I'm not, so we should stick to our guns on that. When it comes to after Biden wins, the main thing that we can do is to just stir up a fucking ruckus. See, we have the benefit now of the existence of the Justice Dems. I know for a fact, because they're not stupid, that the Justice Dems, particularly AOC, and also Bernie Sanders and his constituency, will be levying relentless criticisms at Biden if Biden wins. They're not just going to pal around and agree with him. Every time Biden walks back on a talking point, every time Biden lies, every time Biden ends up appealing to the moderate base, they'll be there to attack him from the left. And we need to assist them in that. And we need to give liberals better arguments, Liberals are going to say, like, oh, you're just assisting the Democrats when you attack them. Well, no, actually, hey, check it out. Look, this policy that we want is actually super duper easy to implement and has basically no downsides. I mean, why aren't the Democrats implementing it? We need to be good at those policy arguments. And if we can be, we can get better at avoiding the kind of dishonest hack shit nonsense that Democrat moderates tend to throw out there to keep their base from moving further to the left,
Okay, I think our next up was...
It's a process.
Yeah. I think next up we had Shane. Let me just double check that. Yep, Shane. Shane, I'm pretty sure he wanted to do it himself, so let me unmute him. Shane, you wanted to do it, right? Shane?
Uh-oh.
Oh, I hear him through it. Shane! Yep, I can hear him through. I don't know if he might be away from his mic. I don't know.
He's not there.
Yeah, alright. So I guess I'll just read that one for him. Word. Oh, DM me. You DM me. Oh, Mike, is it working? Sorry, Shane. I'll read it for you. I won't even try to do a shitty impression of you. That's a big plus. What do you think of the possibility of modern states adopting structures similar to that of China, seeing as it has been shown to be hugely effective for retaining ideological quote-unquote purity, as well as the fact that they have a greater ability for strategic planning in the long term, due to not having their administrations replaced every few years?
Yeah, I don't want the state maintaining ideological purity of any kind. China is not a success story for me, you know? That'd be like to me, that'd be like pointing to the Holocaust and being like, "Did you know it was possible to kill people this efficiently in an industrialized system?" Well, yeah, I guess it's pretty impressive in that respect. I don't know if I want to model that though. I don't know if I'm looking to do that myself. There are benefits to the way China runs their country. It is undeniable that they are able to maintain a stronger political will and a stronger and more consistent long-term geopolitical strategy because they don't have to bother with elections the way that we do, because they are able to keep a consistent vision, because they aren't as responsive to the will of the people. But those are just downsides of democracy. And the thing is, I would take democracy over a more efficient government. Easily. Because I know that without democracy, a more efficient government is efficiency that is not being done for my interests. It's efficiency being done for some other set of interests. I would rather have inept people who respond to me than efficient people who work against me.
Yeah. Oh god, people are asking to debate you. Not on that, just different shit in my DMs.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, wait. You can bring a person on here to debate. I like the conversation.
All right. This one said. Let me read the one that.
By the way, I've got probably another 45. That'll be a solid 3-hour Discord AMA.
Yeah,
That's a good meaty one.
I think we'll get through pretty much all the pinned questions, and then I might try and slip in some of the ones that people have DM'd me as well. I didn't expect to get so many. But
go for it. Yeah.
This person said, "Oh God, he wants to debate you on a thesis he wrote," and I'm just reading the Google Doc. It's the dystopian ramifications of Barbie Princess Charm School. I don't think there's anything to debate. I think we would just all agree with that.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's even a thing we can debate.
Yeah.
So I'll go to the next question.
I have long been a proponent of the dystopian nature of Barbie's whatever thing.
Oh my god, it's fucked. The whole universe. So I don't think anyone would disagree with that, but I will be reading that paper after this. Oh my god, why do the people have to have names like that? Diopoulos. All right, why would you name yourself this? How do you argue against righties who claim that all big businesses and the wealth will simply leave the country if taxes are raised on them?
That's going to have to be an answer in waiting, because a 4th place, nice. 3rd, nice. That's going to have to be an answer in waiting, because I'm actually doing reading right now into wealth flight or capital flight, which is a very interesting subject. You know, if you have a revolution, if you reform, if you tax, if you do whatever, how do you keep all this wealth, all these business owners from leaving the country? And it turns out the answer is complicated. I don't think it's actually as much of a problem as some people think it is. From what I've read, it seems that capital flight can be mitigated or avoided through certain approaches. And that its effects are sometimes negligible, and in some cases quite severe, but it depends on a lot of circumstances. So I would need to look more into it. Maybe I'll add it to the research doc after I'm done.
Cool. I had one from an Anon who's asked, he wants this one quickly read because he says it's important, and it does seem to be about information. From an Anon asker, Vaush, I have information from active armed forces that a sudden pullout, if not all, if not most of all troops from Afghanistan is in the works to happen before the election, and the order comes directly from Trump. What do you think the ramifications are both here and there?
Here, it would be devastating for Biden. For Trump to actually, after 20 long years, fulfill his promise and unilaterally pull people out of Afghanistan, it would be very, very good for him politically. It would make him look very, very good. And so it makes sense that he would do it. If he's doing it, because we'll see. Over there, the consequences would probably be quite bad. Afghanistan is very destabilized. Afghanistan is very destabilized. We have not done a very good job of building that country back up. And for that reason, the absence of American troops would probably not be to the immediate service of Afghanistan. We would have to invest in the country to ensure they're capable of defending themselves against insurgents, ISIS, what have you, before we can leave fully.
This person is now DMing me saying that they're being sent somewhere other than Afghanistan, according to his source, but he hasn't said where yet. But we'll get back to that if he mentions it. We'll bring it up.
Okay. Well, I mean, if it's actually happening, then I'll probably be hearing about it on the news when I wake up
soon,
tomorrow.
I'd imagine. Yeah. If that's happening,
moving
we'll hear
into
about
Canada.
It.
Yeah.
Oh God.
We'll see.
They're going to Brazil. The memes were incepting us on that one. Okay, who's next? Junior San. Hello, Vaush. I have friends that conservatives and I feel like they're slowly being edged or entering batshit territory, i.e., downplaying COVID, prioritizing the economy over human lives, spreading pages run by QAnon, and getting into religious fundamentalism. Is there any hope in pulling them out without scaring them with lefty ideas, or are they too far gone? And they put in parentheses, they're very stubborn. I felt like that was implied.
If you want my honest answer, no, they're too far gone. Once you start getting into QAnon stuff, you're diving into conspiracism, I think, that precludes you from being able to... Yeah. See, the thing is, religious fundamentalism and QAnon aren't exactly, like, step 1 of going, like, crazy, you know? They're, like, step 8. Maybe at an earlier point something could have been done, but the media sources these kids have been exposed to, the people they're talking to, the places they're getting their information from, have put their minds in a position where I don't know if friendship is enough. I encourage you to try. It wouldn't hurt. It would hurt you to try. I encourage you to try. Maybe something good will come from it, but in my experience, yeah. I would come to emotional grips with the possibility that they're not really your friends anymore. They will eventually, if they're going down that road, choose their belief that you are an unwilling agent of the global pedophiles, then you are their friend.
Right. And the update on the person who was asked to remain anonymous, they say he doesn't understand the lingo, but they're going somewhere that they're doing drone and recon work. And it's going to cost a ton of money and time.
That makes sense. I mean, it's easier than pulling them out, right? Again, I can't comment until I'm familiar with it.
I don't... yeah. Very cool. Appreciate the info. Let's see. Who was next? I think it was the only one to do the question their own. Let's see. Lion Sinacoma? Lion Sinacoma? Is there a lions in a coma? Is there a lion? All right. Lions in a coma, you're up.
Was that an anti-Semitic impression?
Is it? No, I was going for Mo Sizlak from The Simpsons.
Hello?
Kind of the vibe of like the name that means something, you know.
Hello?
Like icy wind.
We hear you.
Hi. Okay. My question is for you, Vaush. How do you get into politics and political theory before college? A lot of my friends are like in high school, and I think genuinely we really want to contribute to the leftist movement, and we really got into politics like by like watching other bread tubers. But what do you suggest furthering your knowledge and your understanding of politics and general and stuff like that? Do you recommend like theory or reading journalism, like articles, or like what would you recommend to be the most effective way of getting into it?
A good media diet and good media digestion. You need to be able to differentiate between good and bad sources to get your info from, and you need to be able to interpret those sources critically. Theory isn't it. Theory is a higher stage thing, because even theory should be read critically. The material conditions upon which the theory was written are very different than the conditions we live in today. So a critical analysis, and not just a dogmatic reading, is necessary to be able to understand what's going on in there, or at least to meaningfully understand it. But when it comes to the media that you consume, here's what I'd recommend, for example. And it's exhausting, but I'd recommend it anyway. Why don't you, every once in a while, at your discretion, if a big news event happens, why don't you watch a bunch of different commentators give their take on it? Like, take a look at maybe MSNBC and Fox, maybe Kyle Kulinski and Sam Cedar, maybe even Jimmy Dore, or The Rising, and just get a really broad perspective of that one issue. Like, really, really study it. And study it critically when you're listening to all of this. And think what here is fucking stupid, what here isn't stupid, and why are the things that aren't stupid not stupid. And if you can do that, and do that for long enough, what you eventually develop is a very strong tolerance for bad ideas, an ability to resist them, because you can identify them on sight by comparing them to the thought processes that failed other people in the past. I know that was all really wordy, and it's not super helpful, but that's the practice that I engage in. That's what keeps me, I guess, hot on my toes. Hopefully it can work for you and your friends.
I see. Also, I did put in another question, but if I want to, I do have to go soon. Would you mind if I asked it?
Yeah, you just throw it in there with this one, because it was
Okay.
gonna be like 3 questions and then you again anyway. So
Yeah. How do you convince red-pilled, ironic Redditor gamer bros on social issues? I find it really hard to convince them on BLM, trans rights, and immigration, even though I've shown them studies. It gets really, like, it pisses me the fuck off. Do you know how, like, I would be able to really, like, convince them and get them over? Because I don't really feel like they have any, like, actual standing in these values, or, like, truly believe in them. They just...
It's an emotional thing for them. They don't care about studies. What they care about is being a part of the winning side. What they want to feel cool, essentially. So, for some people, it is uncool to be a policy wonk who just reads studies and derives opinions from that. For some people, it's uncool to care about other people's feelings. There are a lot of excuses that young people will have, I think, for especially that latter thing, for not caring about other people's feelings. What you need to do is sort of find the emotional center of their obstinance, and you need to challenge that directly. If they just like being the cool asshole, be a cooler assholer to them. Which is, to an extent, kind of what I do. Which is why I bully all the skeptics, and I live in the nightmares of Styx Hexenhammer and Sargon. Because they got their living, being cool assholes, at least in the minds of their impressionable followers. But I can beat them on both of those, so here I am. If you can do that, if you can challenge any direct emotional issues they may have, with trans people, for example, a lot of people are just disgusted by the idea of trans people, like in a very high-level, pure sense, but not really so much in an empirical, direct way. How many people, I know there are trans people watching right now, how many of you have interacted with transphobes who have nonetheless found you hot? I know for a fact that's happened to quite a few of you. It's a higher level, like, conceptual thing, not so much a direct life experience thing. And for that reason, it can be challenged, because it's fundamentally irrational. So do so, It's really just about finding those weak points. And this is something that has to be done individual by individual. I can't do that, because I make a channel for, a large number of people. So I just kind of cast a wide net and see how that goes.
I see. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your content. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay. Got one from Kellogg's. It's kind of a two-part. Vaush, would you ever run for Congress?
Absolutely not.
Do you have any advice for people that would want to run for Congress?
I don't know much about the game myself, actually. Know what your base wants, and remember that this sounds antagonistic, but I would recommend looking into the candidacy of Joshua Collins, who was Washington's 10th District congressional candidate. and I don't say that to be condescending, but I think that Joshua Collins ran into a lot of difficulties that were associated with the transition between the online left and being an effective political candidate. He ran into a lot of difficulties along those lines. And so I would recommend looking into that, because that is a trap a lot of us are going to fall into. Also, over the coming weeks, I'm going to be interviewing some congressional candidates, and hopefully they're beautiful. Sorry. Hopefully their experiences and advice will be helpful.
Kellogg wanted to, I think, just kind of like follow up on that by actually voice chatting.
Yeah, I'm not going anywhere.
Yes. I don't know. Yeah. You're unmuted. Oh, he's deafened. Why is he? I think he missed his own question.
Rip.
Oh. Poor bastard. We'll see if he comes in real quick. Just take it. Okay. Let me see who's next, and if we can get back to him, we'll get back to him.
Yo, Vaush, you should speak to Jamie from Majority Report. I actually am trying to speak to Jamie, because I think she's pretty cool. But I think that Jamie might be a little bit put off by my reputation, because I have attempted to build that bridge with some lack of success, so we'll see.
Okay. So, we got Ray Major. I feel like this is a fairly important question at this rate. Do you think there is any way for the U.S. to save itself from the upcoming financial disaster?
For like in theory? Yeah, absolutely. In theory, it's totally possible. Yeah, 100%. $2,000 a month UBI. Government uses emergency powers to manage necessary social services while encouraging a lockdown that lasts up to 1 month. Use that lockdown as an opportunity to finance a massive door-to-door, or at least neighborhood-by-neighborhood contact tracing program. Knock COVID-19 out of the fucking park. U.S. shoulders the debt, and we go back to living normally in 2 months. We could do that, along with, of course, a bunch of stuff to deal with the eviction crisis, but we're not going to do that, so yeah, there's no way America can avoid the coming financial crisis. We're not gonna do that.
Yeah, it's inevitable.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's just not happening.
All right. So I think we got our man who's just having some technical difficulties. What was
our king?
Kellogg's.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah, sorry about that. It was push to talk. I got a little nervous at first. This is my first time doing this. I just wanted to say first, thanks for pushing me further left, I guess. I kind of like live in the South, so like I get like Southern propaganda shoved down my throat, and then like being black, I deal with a lot of like systematic issues.
Mm-hmm.
That's how, but that inspired me to like want to run for Congress and stuff. So with that being said, that's why I asked you those questions about trying to run for Congress, because like my goal ultimately is after I go to school, I'm gonna try to go run into Congress, but I'm too scared to do it in the South because I kind of do things that would probably get me in trouble if like people knew if I was in Congress, like things.
Yeah. Well, hey, listen, one of the main reasons the Democrats fucking suck is because they don't field candidates in red districts. The DNC, sometimes, like, Republicans will literally run unopposed. It'll just be a primary between Republicans. And maybe an independent or two. The Dems won't even field anyone. Even if it's scary, and I know it is, believe me, the ability to run candidates, even far-left ones, in challenged, in difficult districts is, like, hugely important to winning this culture war. So I hope you do it. I hope you're able to pull it through.
So I guess with that being said, I guess one of the best things would be, which I've learned from Vaush, definitely, which is praxis. So what I try to do is at least, because I don't think I'm also going to end up running in Congress down here, which is what I really want to do. Because I've like recommended in chat before too. I'm going to recommend it one more time before I leave. but there's a documentary called Sugar Town. It's a free HBO documentary you can watch on YouTube. It discusses like the systematic racism in the town that I grew up in, like how the cops used to literally beat us up in the middle of the night. It like a couple of months ago, my brother actually got arrested off of fake warrant charges after he called the cops for help. We're trying to fight that charge. It's just a lot of stuff we're dealing with, and that's like what ultimately pushed me to run towards Congress. So what I'm hoping is, that I can get more people, self-aware of the issues that goes on in my town, so I can at least get, I don't want to be racist here, but a bunch of white people behind my back, because it won't look good if it's just me and a bunch of other black people protesting, because they literally tear gases during parades and stuff. So it's like, it's kind of hard for us to do stuff without that level of privilege behind us.
Oh yeah, undeniably. I mean, I don't think there's anything that can be done immediately to put you in better standing, to put you in a better position. But I think that by moving as a front, by initiating that, you do lead people. And what a lot of people who start marching with 2 or 3 people next to you don't realize is that you are, paving the path for the next big march. Yeah, my main advice would be don't publicly associate with me, and you'll probably be safe. You'll be okay.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, man. I had a really rough week with Hurricane Laura. I think you've seen me talked about it in the comment section. It hit us pretty hard. I've been having sweating headaches and stuff because of all the stress I've been dealing with out here. So talking to you there has really brightened up my week. I would definitely say that. So thank you so much. And have a great day.
Wait, one quick thing. Hello?
Yes, I'm still here.
Somebody in chat said they wanted to contact you. Could you shout out some means by which they could contact you?
Yeah, I don't have like any kind of social media and stuff because like I kind of checked out from that a couple years ago. But the least I can do is I guess link my Snapchat in the chat. I post funny stuff there, but I don't really do praxis as much other than like talking to real people. Because I always feel like I get messages better out to people by talking to them in person. Like I've changed a lot of racist white people's minds too, just by being completely nice and killing them with kindness.
Sure.
So keep that in mind, people. Stop being mean to people on the internet. Killing them with kindness is good praxis.
Gotcha. Oh, they're asking for your Discord tag specifically.
Oh, okay, sure. It's Kellogg's pound 3183.
Okay, thank you. And if you want to contact directly, you can go to the Discord server, the one the same is being hosted from.
Yep.
Thank you much, man. I really appreciate that.
Thank y'all so much. Like I said, definitely made my day better. I'm a huge fan of Vaush. Been there since Call to Dusty. Oh my gosh. Let me just get out of here though, because I know I'm talking too much and I'm holding up the line.
That is quite a while back.
Because I'm fanboying so hard. Have a great day, guys. I'm going to continue watching the stream. Vaush, stop dying. I want to see you get a win before I go to sleep.
Yeah, okay, we'll see. Be well.
You're asking a lot of the man.
Oh, nice dude.
All right, yeah, that was good. I'm glad we actually got him on. All right. Let's see who.
Also, to people shit talking my skill in chat, I want to point out that if you were playing, if you were able to participate in an AMA at this level and still get anywhere near as far into Fall Guys as I am, then you would be proud of yourselves. Okay.
I think I got that game recently. I gotta try that out.
It's
so we got
shit.
One from... I can tell I'm either gonna hate it immediately or I'm never gonna stop playing it. So we got XX_Soldier Boy Fan 69_XX. Best name of the night, guaranteed. Vaush, what is your favorite Dungeons and Dragons campaign, and how would I go about converting first edition campaigns to 5th edition?
For my favorite campaign, I'd be the one that I did with my friends, but it's not a I don't know if you mean like a preset module that I could like actually name. I've never played a module. I did a campaign with my college friends that I'm still going to this day. That's had 2 arcs, and the first arc being complete, I think, has probably been the favorite D&D thing I've ever done. We'll see when the second arc finishes. But yeah, I think I've rambled about it on stream before. But I will spare all of you the indignity. Oh, wait, what edition? Oh, what D&D edition? Oh,
did he say edition? No, he said campaign. He had then a follow-up question about converting first edition campaigns to 5th edition, which...
Oh, okay, well, I don't know shit about first edition. Holy fuck, that's ancient.
I can help with that. DM me. I'll just say that. I'll throw that one out there for Soldier Boy Fan 69. DM me. I'll help you with that.
Sure. Yeah. No. I
That's my jam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
The ones where you get the multiple arcs, that's the best one. Because again, I like the best ones. I think are the ones where it's like not modules. So how do you even begin to summarize one of those? You know what I mean?
Oh, sure. Yeah. It's nearly impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, guys, wait. Mango. Kellogg's is in chat. Wait, Kellogg's. You're Kellogg's. You're Kellogg's. You're the Kellogg's. You're
the man. It's the boy.
I didn't think Kellogg's was Kellogg's. Yeah, there you go. Don't need a fucking Discord. Hello. There you go. Okay. Okay, sorry.
Based. No, that's fine. All right. Next one is from a person who wanted to do it in VC, which is Valen. I believe that was the name. Yeah, right above you, Vaush.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So I have a question on how do you believe, or how do you deal with people who just like blatantly not believe any data that goes against their worldview? Because I've been like debating people, and whenever like I'll bring out data, like before the whole like postal service was being defunded, I had a debate about like whether voter fraud is a major issue, and I can bring up data about how it's not that big of a deal, and they'll just be like, oh well, I can make up statistics too. Like, how do you deal with that?
You make fun of them. Make them feel like shit. It's really the only thing that you can do. What these people are really looking for is like strong emotional receptors, you know? If the data doesn't make them feel very good, they'll reject it. Usually because they associate the information they currently have with being powerful or with being cool or based or red pilled or epic or whatever. So if it's an emotional response they're looking for, you just have to make them feel like shit. You want to tap into those reward centers and fuck them up. So when they associate being obstinate about their data, not with being cool and epic and red pilled, but rather with getting made fun of on the internet. It works. There are people in chat right now, and I know you motherfuckers, some of you got moved over because I or somebody else was just really fucking mean, either to you or to a position you held close to your chest, and you were like, and eventually, you know, at first they don't move over, but eventually, they're like, it's a process.
All right, thanks. Is it alright if I ask my second one, because it's like next in the pin?
It's next. Yeah, go for it.
All right. Do you think the upcoming like rent crisis will be like big enough for substantial change for the better in this country? Because I've been talking with some of my leftist friends about it, and a lot of them are less hopeful that it's going to be anything other than just awful for everyone.
I don't know if it's going to lead to anything good. I don't think there's enough worker solidarity in this country for people to turn this into something meaningful. The thing is, like, with BLM, there's a lot of black solidarity in this country. Like, black people have a collective identity, a shared experience, and they will fight to defend themselves collectively, at a pretty good margin. It's not perfect, but it's something. But poor people or working class people, we have nothing. There are no working class movements in this country. Like, there's no working class organization. You know how many people are in the IWW right now? Like 5,000. 5,000 people in the international workers of the world. You know how many workers there are in the world? Significantly more than 5,000. Oh yeah, well, I'm kind of a worker. Listen, I'm a labor aristocracy, thank you. Yeah, but with... Fuck. God, I suck. Industrial workers of the world, sorry. Yeah, the DSA is more relevant in America. That is for sure. But whatever the case may be, I don't know if we're going to be able to turn the eviction crisis into something that will mobilize people.
All right, thank you so much.
No
problem.
Next up, we had N8, who needs to jump up because they got to go soon. So, N8, you're unmuted, so you just got to unmute yourself or do your push to talk.
I just did. Hello.
Hello.
I am really happy to be here. I wrote one question down, but I saw that lots of people were saying like 2 or 3, and I have one other that's a response to one of the things you talked about. Is that all right? It's just going to take 2 minutes max.
Just go for it. Just go for it.
Okay. So my first is, would it make sense for the U.S. to adopt a parliamentary system to accommodate different policy priority lists we each individually have? I think that politicians should tailor their politics to their constituents, and the current system seems to not be working whatsoever, for me at least.
Yeah, I'm generally more favorable towards a parliamentary system, but it will literally never happen. That would require, like, that would be the most fundamental change that is. I think that, like, I think that we would actually be more likely to decommodify the country than we would be to get rid of the presidency. It's just so essential to the heart and soul of this country, and our collective national identity. But that said, I have been pretty favorable towards parliamentary systems lately. It certainly gives radical groups more of a portion of the stage. That's for sure.
And the other thing, sorry, thanks for that. Also, I just wanted to get this because I don't want to take up too much of your time. You said earlier, like a while back, that I wrote this down, I don't remember it completely. Your prediction of moving further to the left seems accurate, but I would also extend it to say that Obama's, remember what you were saying like an hour or two ago, I don't remember.
I remember that Obama's middling disappointment policies pushed people to the left because they were disappointment.
Yeah, and I also think that it also pushed the conservatives to the right. I think it just polarized the country in general.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that maybe because the Democrats, we failed to pick a candidate that went with the general like political stance of the country, that might have been a major reason as to why we didn't win the election.
Oh, yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, for sure. That's the big difference between the Republican and the Democrat Party. The Republicans will see that they're being taken over by lunatic fascists. So a lunatic fascist wins the primary, you know? They'll fall in line. Whereas the Democrats will see that there's a rising group of, at the very least, social democrats who are unsatisfied with Obama's presidency, and they will stamp and stomp and stamp and stomp on those people as hard as they can. Yeah, it's a big difference. The Republican Party is far more willing to capitulate to their radicals because their radicals don't challenge capital interests, you know? Go far enough to the left and you start threatening capitalism. Go far enough to the right and you really fucking don't. So that's the big differentiator there. Yeah, I don't disagree.
Okay, that's all I had to say, because I was just thinking, I have these beliefs, I don't know if there are some obvious flaws in them, but like, I also, back to the parliamentary system, yeah, I totally think that that's completely unrealistic. I just thought, like, in a perfect world, we really should have, like, stuck with England and shit. But, well, not really, I don't know.
Listen up, you fucking loyalists. Don't take it too far, okay?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I gotta get off before my dad starts up the internet. See ya.
Good luck.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
To think that man gave up his chance to do anything else online just so he could get that question in.
Boy, they go to
that
presidential system. They don't even go to Queen. That's pretty stupid, isn't it?
Admit. All right. Vaush. This is from, oh my god, why are these names like this? Seven Soliloquy. Soliloquy, but it's spelled awful. Got it.
Anime
Seven
fans.
Soliloquy at Twitch. Vaush. As a follow-up to the Gamergate question, what would you do to influence the rising right-wing influence on Twitch if you were unbanned? How much can smaller creators do to influence this, and how?
How much can smaller creators can do a lot through panels and discussion shows and talk shows. I think that Austin is a really good platform for this. Austin is pretty progressive, and his shows get quite a lot of traction. It's not really that common for smaller streamers to get on, say, for example, the Scuffed podcast, but that's also a really good avenue. It's not easy at all for smaller streamers to do that. Now, for me, for a big dick streamer who now gets 10K on good days, I think what I would try to do a little bit what Hassan does, which is where I consolidate my fan base with a bunch of like gamer frat boy types. A lot of people watch Hassan because he's funny and because he's like hot, and that's not an insult to him at all. There's nothing wrong with that. Whereas people don't watch me for much other than the politics. I mean, they like my video game streams and all, but let's be real, they get like a third the viewership of the politics streams. So what I'd look to do, I guess, is to diversify my market share, so to speak, in an effort to have a little more influence on... Wait. A little more influence... Sorry. Little more influence over the gamer space. Sorry,
I don't think about the term gamer space.
The gamer space.
How's like it? It's got a good vibe to it. All right. Was that it? That was your any thought on that question?
That was my answer for that one.
All right. I feel so bad for all the people we're not gonna be able to get to.
Yeah, well, that's just life. My call-in streams are a perpetual...
Hey, we do what we can. All right. God, it's like the names are getting harder. Sharky Kinani. Close enough. Vaush, I see a lot of people arguing online that pansexuality in the LGBTQ plus community is an erasure of bisexuality because bisexuality has always been what pansexuality is. It's really confused me a lot. How do you feel about exclusionism in the community and the claimed erasure of other people in the community?
Bi's malding. That's what I have to say. No, pan isn't fucking erasure of bi. That's not what erasure means. Erasure doesn't mean a new term happens. Erasure means that you're like invalidating the experiences of people. Like that is completely different. Listen, realistically, okay, it's a fucking dumb distinction. People who say they're bi are usually pan, and people who say they're pan usually act the same way as bi people, okay? Very rarely do bi people actually principally not fuck non-binary people. Like, that just doesn't happen that often. They basically mean the same thing. I prefer to use pan because pan is a more technically accurate term for, I think, what most people would consider the bi experience, but I really don't give a fuck. You know, I've never met a bi person who was like, oh, you're so hot. You have such a hot, tight asshole with your big asshole. And then the person turned around, they're like, I'm non-binary. And the bi person was like, fuck, got it. I was so attracted to you. But now that I know you're not one of the two genders I am sexually attracted to, I am despondent. I am torn. You know, I don't.
All right, so we had this. Although, all right, so I got two people who want to go badly, so I'm gonna let them go, because they were waiting from very early on. And the person I just said you should dip. You know what? I'm gonna let you go, then I'm gonna let Marax. Le Marx de la... I already told you in DMs I was gonna mispronounce your name. Le Marx de la Bergen. Oh God, this is. Ugh.
That was good.
Ugh.
Good content.
Yeah, it's good content. All right, Crypt. You go.
Yo, what's up? You hear me?
What's up?
We can hear you.
How are you doing, Dad? Are you winning?
I won the round.
Hey, nice one. Let me help you out. His name is Le Marquis de la Bougade. So you know how to pronounce it. Anyway, my
30 seconds.
my question is that while Trump may be domestically less dangerous than Biden, I believe that Biden's potential effect on world security is far worse than that of Trump. And I'm pretty sure that a Biden presidency would mean at least 2 new conflicts in the Middle East with at least 100,000 dead. So I don't think you can
based on what evidence?
On his previous voting. I mean, the dude is the biggest war hog in the Democratic Party. He didn't just vote for Iraq. He was the one who organized the votes. Well, he knew the evidence was bullshit. I mean, the JSOC, the chiefs of staff said they'd rather work with Biden than with Trump.
Hold up.
So,
let him respond.
Joe Biden is a pretty hard moderate in the Democratic Party. He's been pretty influential in his years, but generally speaking, the stuff that he's done has been pretty in line with the Democratic ticket. I'd say he leans a little more conservative than the average Democrat, but he's pretty center of the road. in all things
Domestically,
considered.
yeah, but not
No,
foreign
just in general matters. I don't think that Biden is a war hawk. I think that he just follows whatever the general political impetus at the time is. I don't think there's any evidence to suggest that Trump is better on foreign policy.
I mean, the dude didn't start a war in 4 years. I mean, Biden knew that
Trump
George
has done
Bush's commission
tons of terrible
about...
stuff. Wait,
Sure.
Wait. There was the assassination of Soleimani. There's the ramping up bombs in Yemen. He's escalated drone strikes massively. He's continued to maintain troops in Afghanistan. He hasn't
drone
started.
Strikes where?
Huh?
Drone strikes where? Where did he intensify drone strikes?
Mostly in Yemen.
No. That was the Saudis, my dude. The Americans have been gone for like a year now. They just politically support the Saudis.
But
there are no American drones flying there. Maybe
drone
CIA ones.
Wait. I could have the actual location incorrect. But drone
I think
strikes.
you're talking about Syria.
Drone strikes are up. Possibly Syria. I am playing Fall Guys right now. Drone strikes are up massively, in total, like by a massive percent, like compared to Obama, who was quite a big
sure,
fan.
but against the guy who knew that the commission about the Iraqi WMDs was fake, and still decided to be the leading figure in his party to get that vote through.
Yeah, I think Trump. Because Trump wasn't in office back then. I think Trump probably would have supported that if he was in office.
But Trump has been in office for 4 years, and he still hasn't started a new war. I have a lot of problems with him, and he's a major destabilizing force.
That's not the only metric for being bad on foreign policy.
It's a big one. It's a very big one.
Wait, and Obama didn't start any new wars.
Regarding that, not just wars, I think Biden is going to start a new trade war with the Russians.
Wait. You can't just say something. Why did I just remove that? You can't just say something stupid and then move on to the next point, okay? So
what was stupid?
Okay, so everything you've said first of all. So we can talk about all of the foreign policy decisions that Trump has made, but you absolutely cannot make the claim that that Trump has been good for foreign policy, and you absolutely cannot make the claim that Biden...
No, he is not good. He is not good.
Okay, you can't. You don't know that Biden...
Trump is awful, but Biden is worse.
Wait, please. We don't know at any given point in time whether or not the other candidate would have launched a war when we didn't. What you're doing right now is the exact same arguments that Republicans did in 2016. That Hillary is going to be the war hawk, she's going to start a bunch of wars, and they gave no evidence for this claim. And then Trump comes in, and he's also completely terrible on foreign policy. Now, I think the reason why we started the war in Iraq and Afghanistan was in large part because we were able to consolidate national fervor together after 9/11. Well, that was with Iraq. And we were able to maintain our presence there in large part because the Bush administration was very, very effective in keeping the media in line with manufacturing consent in those issues. Right now, the American people are not looking for a new war. I don't think that Biden will be able to sell people on a new war. I don't think the conditions are in line for that. And if he's able to, I think Trump would be able to. In fact, far-right leaders using warfare as an attempt to justify emergency powers is a very, very, very common tactic. Margaret Thatcher invaded an island off the coast of South America for basically no reason when she feared that she was going to lose re-election because she knew that doing so would increase the likelihood of her winning again. I don't believe the line.
I'm pretty
that Biden...
sure the Argentinians declared the war, and Margaret Thatcher just went hard into the pain on it.
That was Argentinian. Wait. That was Argentinian territory. Margaret Thatcher's response was completely unwarranted.
You know, the fascist government in Argentina declared the war in an attempt to save
Hold on,
their
wait. I could be misremembering this conflict right now.
Yeah, it's not Thatcher that started the war. But
okay.
Anyway, another thing, I think you need to read up on your history, my dude, because your points are severely weakened by your...
You haven't made any points.
Incorrect or... What? Okay, let's make a point. The entire Democratic Party has been working their way towards antagonizing Russia as hard as they can.
Wait,
Obama
how?
already started. What do you mean, how? They're constantly talking about Russian interference. The whole story about that the CIA cooked up, that the Russians are putting bounties on American soldiers.
Wait. You're a Tulsi Gabbard stan, aren't you?
No, I don't give a shit about
Wait. The Russian thing happened. It's real.
The bounty shit.
The bounty shit. Wait, how do you have any evidence that it was cooked up?
I mean, yeah, it's heavily discussed internally in the intelligence community that there is no real hard evidence for.
I have never seen any claim being made to that effect.
Constantly. The CIA constantly makes these claims.
I have
without.
Wait. So, without alluding to conspiracy, what evidence is there to indicate that the Russian bounty claim was completely made up?
Because they have zero reason to do so. It's entirely against Russian interests to antagonize Americans in the region anymore when they are on the point of removing themselves from the country.
Wait, that's conjecture. Wait, that's not evidence. That's conjecture.
No. This is a long-term strategic goal that the Americans have had. They want to pull out of
conjecture.
Afghanistan, but they want to do this on a way that's on their terms. The Russians realize they can't push
this is conjecture.
The Russians realize they can't push America out of Afghanistan, and so they're just buying their time.
You realize? Wait. First of all, destabilization helps Russia in every conceivable sense there. Second of all, this is conjecture. So you have no evidence that the Russian bounties things was completely made up. You haven't.
I mean, mostly Afghanistan is in Iran's backyard, so it's mostly in their political sphere. And the Russians respect this.
You are once again not providing the arguments I asked you to provide.
What arguments do you want me to provide?
Any.
Except that any hostile action against American soldiers in Afghanistan.
What point was you making?
The point is that America is in the long term pulling out of Afghanistan. We can both agree on this, yes?
I mean, very long term.
Very long term.
Sure, like inevitably we have to leave. I guess. I mean, we believed that 10 years ago, but.
All right. So what the Russians do is they don't have any interest in
direct
intervention in Afghanistan. They don't want to put any troops of their own in there. So they're relying on their allies' proxies. Iran has a bunch of proxies in Afghanistan. They actually recently signed
what does this have to do with the bounties?
And a cooperation treaty with the Taliban to hunt ISIS together.
What does this have to do with the bounties?
Russia has no interest in antagonizing the Americans or giving them any reason to stay there.
Wait. This is conjecture. So you don't have any evidence that the bounties claim was manufactured. You just have.
I mean, you don't have any claim. You don't have any evidence that it did.
I mean,
happen,
the consensus of the. Wait. Yes.
There is no consensus. You're lying, dude.
What do you mean I'm lying? You're not providing any arguments. You're making a non-verifiable claim right now. Like your claim is literally unfalsifiable. You realize that, right?
Dude, English is not my first language, so if you can put it out in regular words.
The claim you're making is irrational. I don't think there's any evidence to indicate that the CIA is lying about the Russian bounties example. And also, Russia has done tons of things to antagonize the United States. I don't think it's unlikely they would do this. They benefit from destabilization.
No, they do this. They do this in areas that it benefits them. They do this in Syria.
This is wait. What argument are you making with Democrats and in Russia?
And every single signal they have sent, foreign policy-wise, has been hostile towards Russia with extreme suspicion, building an entire media narrative that everything bad's going on in America right now is the fault of Russia. It's a build-up to at least a trade war with Russia.
You're not. Okay. The Democrats overplayed the Russiagate stuff. I'm not denying that. You're acting as though they're pretending that everything that has taken place is a conspiracy. I haven't heard a Democrat agent mention Russia outside of the existing investigation into Russiagate, which ended up being confirmed in a very long time. So without making some vague allusion to conspiracy, what argument are you making? That they're going to declare war on Russia? They're going to nuke Russia?
No. I'm not saying a war. I'm saying trade war. I'm saying a worsening of international relations.
Wait, we should worsen our international relations with Russia. They're our active enemy.
I mean, they aren't good in the first place right now, as much as Trump wants them to be.
I know they're bad. They're our enemy. We shouldn't be Trump has normalized positive relationships with Putin while Putin is still active in destabilizing our democracy. It's like a cucked move. He's cucked. He's just letting far-right dictators walk over us.
Anyway, all of the signals.
Wait, what do you mean anyway? We should be anti-Russia.
Yeah, sure. I agree. But my point is that you don't have to cook up a fake media narrative about it.
What fake media narrative?
The bounties,
it wasn't fake.
Russia.
What? It wasn't fake. You have no evidence to indicate that it's fake.
Actually, I'm looking it up now, and now CNN says recently, 17th of August, that it's actually Iran that paid the Taliban and not Russia.
Okay.
So it is fake.
Wait. What?
Bounties were paid by
how
a
would that
foreign
mean it's
government
fake?
identified to CNN as Iran. If bounties are being paid, and the CNN can figure out it's Iran.
Wait,
but
you
the CIA, with
you
all of
literally
their
just
resources,
Googled and you're
cannot-
reading a headline to me right now. You have no
No,
underlying
I'm-
idea on
I'm-
this.
I'm reading the second paragraph, actually.
You realize, like, for one, that could mean new information came out. Two, that could mean that Iran and Russia are doing this together. Three, it could possibly mean they both have a shared geopolitical interest. Like, you have no idea. You're so biased looking
I mean,
at this article.
I can extrapolate by the current situation in Iraq.
You can extract from the situation in Iraq. You can extrapolate.
Yes. I mean, I'm sure you've noticed recent tensions between Iranian proxy forces and American forces with several missile attacks and stuff.
Yeah, you mean
If
the
the
stuff that
Iranians
Trump?
wanted to-
You mean the
yeah.
stuff Trump initiated?
Yeah, exactly. If the Iranians wanted to seriously antagonize America, they could have hit back with
This is
like 50,
wait.
60...
I
No, no, no,
don't
they
wait.
could
I
have-
don't want to
they
hear what
could-
some random internet person's if I was Iran and Russia, this is the tactic that I would have used. And since that's not the tactic that actually happened, the thing that they say must have happened is actually fake. This is just not. This is not a method by which I can arrive at good foreign policy takes.
Okay. Anyway, my point was that Iran could have hit back with several dozens of missiles, and in fact, they only sent like 3 into a base that was warned beforehand by them.
What does that have to
It's
do with
pretty clear-
anything?
It's pretty clear they don't want to antagonize America in Iraq, which in their case would be a far more favorable situation because their stronghold in Iraq is much stronger than their control over
What
Afghanistan.
does this have to do with
It's
anything?
there is no reason to
Are you just
antagonize
reading
your
the
enemy.
article?
No, I'm not. There's no reason to antagonize.
I can't.
Let me finish
You-
a
but
sentence.
You're
Fox,
so.
for God's sakes.
You
Hey,
finished
for
like
God's
8
sake, just one.
sentences.
Jesus.
Holy shit! You can't be this mad when you're. You can't be
Like-
this mad and this obnoxious. You have to choose. You
All
have to
right.
pick a lane. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Like that's a server rule. Like you
Okay.
gotta. You're starting to get to a point where
I'm just gonna.
You're starting to
one,
get-
one more. One sentence.
One more. All
It
right.
makes
One
no
more.
reason-
All right.
It makes no reason for Iran to antagonize their enemy in one region where they have firmer control and can take more advantage of the enemy being removed than it does antagonizing an enemy in a region you don't control, in which they could potentially hit back far harder. This makes sense to you, yes?
You should submit this to the CIA.
I will. I'd love to help the American Empire out.
All right.
Anyway, that was most of it.
Okay. Vote. You're voting Biden, right?
I'm not American.
You're gonna
vote Biden. Right?
immigrate here and vote Biden anyway, right?
I'm gonna vote Vermin Supreme, I think.
All right.
Hey, have a good night, buddy.
Good night.
Okay. So I did need to do a little bit of clarification on this. The man with the French name Lemarx de la...
Bugade.
Thank you. Bagugu.
Bagugu.
People thought that was him, and he wanted me to clarify that that person who was just speaking wasn't not in fact him. It was a different person.
What the fuck?
Interesting.
So just wanted to clarify that. This is in fact the Frenchman. Please, go ahead.
Oh wait,
You're
I
next.
think this will have to be my last one. Wait, I just
Oh,
want to
yes.
I just want to clarify really quickly. I'm sorry if I gave any bad foreign policy takes in there. I didn't expect to get that. That was a very sudden meme.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a pretty sudden meme. I swear to God, I remember reading like something on Margaret Thatcher like doing some unjust war bullshit to perpetuate her term. But apparently, like, people in chat were saying that that was the opposite of an unjust war, so maybe I was reading some, like, Argentinian propaganda or something. I was reading some state propaganda from the, you know, from the 80s, and that's where I got my take from. Anyway,
it's all
yeah.
right, Vaush. We still love you.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah,
All
hit me up.
So, Lamarx, you had a question, right, too?
Was it the Falkland War that I was thinking of? I don't know. Go on.
I don't know. It's
Yeah,
Lamarx.
that's exactly what it was. The Falkland War.
Okay.
All right. Lamarx, are you there? I don't know if he's there. He might have left.
Uh-oh.
But he did want me to clear that up. He said so in DMs. Because
Gotcha.
he was saying people in the chat were saying it was him. And yeah. So, Cool. I think that was the last one we had time for. 'Cause
Wait,
know
I
you
can
did
I can
the-
go one more so we can end on a white people happy
Oh,
note.
he's here. He's here.
Oh. Why am I not going up? Go up.
You're speaking? Whoa, yo. Why is it not working? Hold on. Let me figure this out. Is your like mic? Your mic's going, but I can't hear you. Is something? How do I unmute? It's at the bottom left of your screen. Look at the bottom left of your screen. The bottom left corner by where it says your profile. Oh, you're on mobile. Oh, shit. I think this man... I don't know, man. Do you want me to read your question? I can read your question for you.
Create the question for them.
I think I might need to do it for you. All right, I'm going to read it for you. Where'd your question go? God. Want to get this man's thing. Yes, so nicely. Especially after he got confused with that last guy. Oh, right. Where was it? Just saw it. Oh, God. It got unpinned. Where's your... It's here. It's here. Here. Okay, send me the question. Oh, my God. Come on, man. I'm sorry.
Come on, fat.
What?
It's all right. I'm vibing.
Okay, I'm sorry. He's like typing 30 things. Okay. Do you know what a side is? Do you know what about side erasure? That's what his question is. That's his question.
S-I-D-E erasure?
Yes.
Queer
sides, he specified.
Queer sides erasure. No, I have no fucking idea.
As opposed to top and bottom. What?
Wait, like switch?
Is this like switch?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You bottom and top?
They aren't attracted to typical sex. Man, this is definitely what we should have had. We should have been able to have the voice going for. They prefer other sexual practices, but aren't into anal sex. I don't know, man.
Wait, you mean? Do we mean like?
Only
gay,
handies?
Like, are we talking about gay guys who like are gay but they don't do anal?
Oh, he's typing. For their non-attraction to typical sex. Oh, he's saying like people who get shamed for their non-attraction to typical sex. Is that what you're?
You mean being a fucking kinkster? I don't think that kinksters are really
kink shaming.
Yeah, I don't think that
Yeah,
kinksters are really marginalized in LGBT spaces. For the most part, they're actually pushed up quite a bit more than they would be in more heteronormative spaces. But like in kind of by definition in general in society, yeah, there's probably some degree of ostracization going on. Kind of depends on the kink, to be honest, you know? Like feet fetish is probably pretty normalized these days, but then like if you're into kids, not so much. That one's not good. So I don't know. It's a very vague question.
Oh. He's saying that it often is downplayed in general in society, and people shame him all the time for his foot fetish. And I'm gonna say that sucks, buddy.
Oh, I don't know why you wouldn't just say, "How do you feel about kink shaming?" But yeah, no, I mean, I think people should be able to enjoy what they like
Some
doing.
and he says even psychiatry still considers fetishism a mental illness. Well, yeah, that's dumb.
Yeah, I thought because a fetish in psychiatry is something you actually can't get off without. So it's like a psychological dependency rather than like, because I think most people with a foot fetish can come without there being like a foot in front of them. It's just they like feet. So a fetish means something different in a psychiatric setting than it does in a right. Okay, I think we fucking done it, my dude. No, do you disagree? We haven't done it?
No, he's saying something. He's saying his fetish is entirely my sexuality. He didn't understand.
So you do. So it's a fetish in the psychiatric sense.
He needs feet. Is this serious? I don't mean this in a mean way. I just want to be sure. He's saying yes. All right.
Okay, well, I mean, I can understand how that could be considered a psychiatric disorder if your ability to like feel sexual pleasure is gatekept behind the proximity of a fetish. I mean, it seems like something that could conceivably be better if one worked through it. But I mean, it doesn't. Listen. Hey, it doesn't matter to me. Okay. See, I think that you are beautiful, and I think that you should come on exactly as many feet as you want to.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that was a positive note to end it on.
Yeah.
And I am very sorry to all the people that we didn't have time for this time. I think it was a wonderful AMA.
Yes,
I had a blast.
fun. I think it was like 3 hours, right, Waffle?
Yeah, we got
3 hours.
What the
over
fuck?
3 hours. Yeah. I don't know. I would extend the olive branch to if we could do this again sometime. I think that'd be wonderful. We had a blast.
Yeah, for sure. No, I enjoyed it. The Discord AMAs I tend not to be this fun. With that said, I'm gonna have to head and read the donations that I have gotten. So please, since people are watching, can you shout your Discord server out?
Sure. We are Discourse Diner. We put a link in the chat earlier. We do politics stuff. We do debate nights. We got a current kind of thing where we're going to get going on a mock government. I've been a little lazy on that because I've been looking for a job. Real life stuff gets in the way of the fun. But yeah, it's a really solid place. We're looking to make it better. And, I think it's a fun, come on down, try it out.
Yeah,
what are you going to lose? It's free.
Thank you very much.
Can I just say something quickly?
Yeah, of course.
For people that need an incentive, we're going to be opening staff applications soon.
Uh-oh.
There you go, for the Discord.
Yeah,
for the Discord people.
Oh, God.
Those who crave power.
All right, sorry about that. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you very much for having me.
Hey, thank you for being here.
Of course. Have yourselves a wonderful evening.
I will.
All right, you too.
All right.
I
be
love
well.
you,
Yeah,
Vaush.
you too. Love you.
Bye.